You, Prof, and together with our guests in terms of how we are going to sit. Let's keep clapping until you see them seated. These are very esteemed guests that we celebrate today during this special launch of CTLE. And this is the spirit of KCA University. Ladies and gentlemen, let's keep clapping. Let's keep clapping until all our guests are seated so that they can be able to experience the glory and the warmth of KCA University. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We sincerely appreciate that. We want to request our guests to be upstanding so that we officially start off this ceremony by having an opening prayer, and this is going to be given by none other than Dr. Gladys Bunyasi. Karibu, Daktari.
Let us pray. Father, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, we bow before you this wonderful afternoon with thanksgiving in our hearts. Thank you, dear Lord, for gathering us here on this important day. Lord, we want to welcome your presence. We want to welcome your Holy Spirit. Lord, for the agenda ahead of us, we pray that you're going to guide us through. Dear Lord, we thank you even for the guests that you've given us this day. Lord, as we even plan to launch the Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence, dear Father, we want to surrender every activity to you. Every item in our program this afternoon, may you lead us through, and at the end, we'll give you glory, we'll give you honor. Start with us, dear Lord, and end with us, for we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much. We can take our seats. And as we do that, let's give a round of applause to Dr. Bunyasi. Dr. Bunyasi is our Chief Principal, KCA Technical College. Thank you so much, Daktari. We really celebrate you and we appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, our chief guest, our Vice Chancellor and CEO, Professor Isaiah Wakindiki, who has steered the ship and has offered firm leadership. And I know today we are going to learn about the story and the history of CTLE to our DVCs, the two DVCs here, Professor Joshua Bagakas, Professor Damiana. We want to ask you to feel the warmth, and to the director CTLE, Professor Ngigi, my brother, it's your day. We really want to, I know you've been working a lot, but today we are going to celebrate this. Ladies and gentlemen, just to take you quickly, we have a program with us, and we are going to follow this program. And this program will give us the opportunity to interact with our guests in the form and manner that has been shared. Now, at this point, ladies and gentlemen, we want to officially do our anthems. And we will be doing our national anthem, East African anthem, and the KCA University anthem. And I want to request us just to be upstanding. As we do these anthems, it is important to note that we are going to see some projections just to give you an overview about a bit about KCA University. Ladies and gentlemen, let's just be upstanding one more time as we have the anthems played.
National anthem, the East African anthem, and the university anthem.
Ilete baraka kwetu, akiwe ngao na mlinzi, na tukae na undugu, amani na uhuru, raha tupate na ustawi. Mungu twaomba uilinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuwajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Oh, we the KCA University, we are the true leaders of today. Oh, we the KCA University, we are the true leaders of today. We are on the highway to success, together as one great family, bonded by our goals, advancing in knowledge, driving change. Oh God, help us.
Thank you very
National
much.
anthem.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take our seats. You know, sometimes technology decides to direct you in the manner in which you didn't direct it to go. Thank you very much. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, now that we are having the official launch of CTLE, it is important that I invite a gentleman and a good friend, a colleague, who has steered this ship and is really the inaugural director for this new center, none other than Professor Simon Ngigi. This is his baby, and I want us to give him a warm round of applause as the director, as he comes. Please, let us clap for him until he will feel he is weak. He's about to fall down. Karibu sana, Prof.
Thank you very much, Rogers. The PS, State Department in charge of University Education and Research, the VC and CEO, KCA University, Dr. Anthony, Executive Director, Pascal, the DVC, Academic and Student Affairs, KCA University, Dr. Joshua Bagakas, the DVC in charge of Finance, Planning and Development, Professor Manono Damiana, I missed the first name. All invited guests. We have representation from East Park, AACA, Aga Khan University, and many other guests as the introductions will be done later on. Rogers, I believe you wanted me to do the journey that we have journeyed through as the Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence at KCA University. This is a great vision. Actually, it is embedded in the university strategic pillar to excel in university teaching and learning. As a brief of what I wanted to do, I'll request the technician to share the documentary that we have. It will take us about 7 minutes. Then from there, I'll just wrap it up with a few statements, and I believe this will take us less than 10 seconds. If the documentary is ready, please. Basically, at CTLE, we are guided by 4 principal pillars. One is student success, number 1. Second is faculty success. The third is professional development of the faculty. And 4 is integration of digital technologies in teaching and learning. And for me, an ideal faculty is the one who is able to keep in tandem with the current advances in teaching and learning at university level. The major preoccupation of what I would call an effective faculty is outcome-based learning. Simply meaning that there are certain competencies that are clearly outlined before the session commences, which after the learner is taken through the session must demonstrate. And until that competency is demonstrated, we cannot say learning has taken place. And I would like our people to get it in mind that it's not content. Can the learner demonstrate that?
Yeah, CTLE, the Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence, is core to advancing academic excellence. In fact, it contributes to effective teaching and learning, as well as research productivity of the faculty. So it actually impacts students as well as faculty. It's also important because time has come when the environment is very dynamic, changing from time to time. And the learner, who is the consumer, is also constantly changing. And so our methodologies for teaching will also have to adjust according to the changes.
University, we value so much new ways of teaching and learning. And we know that Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence is a critical center in this line because they are trying to bridge the gap between the expertise and delivery of content and concepts to students through emerging methods of teaching and delivery of content. And therefore, it is coming in at a very critical time when we are going through transformations in education, particularly on the ways we deliver content to our students, and the center will come in a strong way.
Endeavor to train and produce graduates, specifically teachers who are well grounded in pedagogical professionalism and technological advancement. In Kenya today, we have very few higher institutions of learning that have adopted the idea of training staff, especially with the changing world of education. So when we do that, we'll get into that league, and it will make a difference because our members of faculty will be better in terms of teaching and learning. We therefore look forward to drive KCA University to be a leading example in teaching and learning excellence.
Not many other universities I know, not just in this republic but in Africa, that have this as a strategic pillar directly, when we are concerned about how we teach and how learning takes place. For example, our university leads this country in terms of blended learning techniques for our lecturers. Even at the onset of COVID, some 2 years back, our university never closed because we quickly swung into action, and we had a very, very active blended engagement for online engagement and also face-to-face when it was possible. We also now have in the center instructional leadership and curriculum design implementation under the Directorate of Teaching and Learning Excellence. And also we have reflective and inquiry-based learning, which is being promoted at the center. So we can see in a nutshell that KCA University is at the forefront of pushing for excellence and quality in teaching and learning in this republic. Our university, our intention is to make it the referral university when it comes to teaching and learning in this republic and in the region. And as I've observed there earlier, teaching and learning is one of our strategic pillars or strategic goals of this university, and that is why we have established the Directorate of Teaching and Learning Excellence, which is not there in many other universities in this republic or in the region. And Through this center, we have seen our academics being equipped in various ways. For example, we are equipping them with the techniques for blended learning, where we are subjecting our students to both face-to-face as well as virtual learning. And it's such an exciting moment for the faculty.
That is what calls us here today. It is a call for KCA University to institutionalize university teaching and learning. And ladies and gentlemen, that is what we are here today to witness and see the future and growth of the Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence at KCA University, and watch the space as we influence the angle of teaching in the East African and African region. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Ngigi. Can we give him a better round of applause? Now that it looks like this could be his wedding, let us give him some flowers. Let's mold the flowers, let's mold the flowers, let's mold the flowers. Let's mold the flowers so nicely. Let's give him flowers. Let's mold the flowers one more time. Professor Kieti style. Yeah, you can see the way Professor Kieti is molding. I can see the VC is molding very nice flowers. Professor Bagakas, let's give Prof. Thank you very much, Prof, for that. Now we have been allowed to continue with our business. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, we have a team of dedicated students who know how to make people happy. And I know that our chief comrade, our vice chancellor and CEO understand this group. So I would want to invite the entertainment team, performing arts group, to come and give us a small item, then we can proceed to the next level of the program. Karibuni sana. Let's give them a round of applause as they come. They will stage some nice performance here so that we can be able to get some entertainment piece. And as they organize themselves into that performance, Lamek, Ngobia, kindly, let's make sure that they are set for the performance. Here they are ready. Let's give them a round of applause, please.
Tulie mbinguni yetu, amina. Baba yetu liye, jina lako litukuzwe.
KCA University, the choice of success, with means to excel. If you trust the process, ranked best university in terms of employability back in 2016.
KCA tuna imani nawe, masomo ya kidijitali, viongozi we, miundo msingi tumeona, mtulinde, mtufunze, tuwajibike, wanagenzi, tushangilie, Center yetu mpya.
Towards study program, at least 60 students receive financial assistance annually, 90% student employability upon graduation. Employment here comes as a guarantee. Wait till you see our sports scene. We have at least that we build through discipline, hard work and consistency. Hard work and consistency. Now let's talk about CTLE. Bridges the disconnect between expertise and conveyance of content to students. Promotes adoption of digital technology. Promotes adoption of teaching and diverse learner-centered experiences. If you feel me, please say yes. Vice Chancellor Isaiah Wakindiki must be proud in his seat as we join him to launch this.
Yetu liye mbinguni yetu, amina. Baba yetu liye, jina lako litukuzwe.
Technology imekam na imestray kama charm. What started as a practice has now become a norm. Notes ziko kwa Google, why have them in your brain? The fact you remain uko main campus, expectations are major. Corona ilikam, kazi ilikuwa Zoom, instead ya kuwa Zombie IG, akili ilikuwa Zoom class. Technology imefanya ule bastard kid to a mastered seed. Nikafanya pia ule msee, alikuwa chini ya brutal hands a step father, a make step father.
KCA tuna imani nawe, masomo ya kidijitali, viongozi we, miundo msingi tumeona, mtulinde, mtufunze, tuwajibike, wanagenzi, tushangilie, senta yetu mpya.
Lakini bado utapata scouts wameenda hadi camp na maplayer si mafisi. Saidi ya sports wamekuwa machampe. Utaji wote kutoka hapa utakuwa the next Donald Trump. Maendeleo to the top. Let's give a smile to our champs.
KCA tuna imani nawe, masomo ya kidijitali, viongozi we, miundo msingi tumeona, mtulinde, mtufunze, tuwajibike, wanagenzi, tushangilie, senta yetu mpya. Baba yetu liye mbinguni, yetu, amina. Baba yetu liye, jina lako litukuzwe. Baba yetu liye mbinguni, yetu, amina. Baba yetu liye, jina lako litukuzwe. KCA tuna imani nawe, masomo ya kidijitali, viongozi we, miundo msingi tumeona, mtulinde, mtufunze, tuwajibike, wanagenzi, tushangilie, senta yetu mpya. Baba yetu liye mbinguni, yetu, amina. Baba yetu liye, jina lako litukuzwe. Baba yetu liye mbinguni, yetu, amina. Baba yetu liye, jina lako litukuzwe. Baba yetu liye mbinguni, yetu, amina. Baba yetu liye, jina lako litukuzwe.
Wow, thank you very much. Thank you very much, our performing arts group, and thank you. Can we give them a better round of applause? This is an occasion to be happy, and I've seen people dancing, and our chief guest really was stealing the show on this other side, and definitely, you know, our VC always motivates us when we see him on stage. Asanteni sana. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give them a better round of applause, please. These are students who have been preparing, and they have performed towards an item entitled CTLE, and I think they have done it spectacularly well. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to invite back on stage the director just to do the next duty of inviting the DVC. Karibu sana, Prof.
All right, thanks again, Rogers, my brother. So I'll take a very brief moment, being the honor of inviting my boss, immediate supervisor, that is the DVC in charge of academic and student affairs, and none other than Professor Joshua Bagakas. Karibu.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Professor Ngege. The Vice Chancellor, Professor Isaiah Wakindiki. Our guests, read by, let me see whether I can pronounce this, Dr. Johnson Najaululu, who is representing the Ambassador Simon Nakubwezi, my colleagues, guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I want to welcome you to this function, and in fact, I'm in very high spirit, so I may start to do some unusual things because my students are really exciting me, and I want to tell Johnson, when you go back to the State Department, you need to deliver the message that you were in a place where CBC is manufactured, where it is demonstrated, and where it is illustrated. Our students, they compose and they perform. Only at KCA University. So, welcome again, but I just want to recognize a few of our guests, beginning with one who is representing the parent of KCA University, and this is Rafael Nguri. When I call your name, please stand if you can, and at least salute to the audience. Now, Rafael Nguri. Rafael Nguri, yes. Okay, yes. And representing CPA, Edwin Makori, who is the CEO of the ISPAC. And as you know, KCA University is represented by ISPAC, is sponsored by ISPAC. So again, when you go back to ISPAC, you say the children are doing very well. I also want to recognize Professor Ismail Munene, who is going to be joining us virtually. He's from the Department of Educational Leadership. Of course, we have our chief guest, Johnson Najaululu is representing the ambassador. Please, if you can stand so you can be recognized. Yeah. Then we have David Chengere, who is the CEO of the Kenya National Examination Council. Is he around? We expect him soon. Then Professor Helen Nasimiyo Njenga from the Media Technology, University of Nairobi. Please stand to be recognized. Thank you. Karibu sana. Dr. Anton Chenyange, or Muyange, Executive Director of Higher Education in the Partnership for African Social and Governance Research. Now, Anthony, can you please remain standing for a second? Now, Anthony, he's here with a team, and the team, we have Mother Ngaro and Martina Alai. Can you stand, those who accompanied Anthony, please? All those who accompanied Anthony, can you stand wherever you are? Okay. Now, these are potential partners, which actually demonstrates that this center, Professor Ngigi, is hitting the ground running. And in this case, we have potential partners in our effort to make this business perfect. Karibu sana, and we will look forward to working with you some more. Edward Mwigi, Program Officer, Higher Education. Please stand to be recognized. Thank you very much. And then we have Mercy Demiri, the Program Associate from the same place. Karibu sana, Mercy. Edward Mbacho from Aga Khan University. Karibu sana. Mr. Stephen Oboyo, the County Manager, who is being represented by Cecilia Kisangi. And this is from the business relationship. Are they here already? Okay, we expect them soon. Also, we do expect Professor Kabiru Kinyanjui, who is the chairman of KREP. It's not here. Oh, it's going to be here virtually. Okay, thank you. Then we have Dr. Evelyn Kepkemei, East African Regional Education Advisor, World University of Canada. Karibu sana kutoka Canada. I know she is in the Nairobi office. Karibu sana. Professor Sagini Keengwe, who is a professor from University of North Dakota. I was expecting to see him virtually, but I was shocked when I went to the boardroom and I saw my old friend from North Dakota. Karibu sana, Professor Sagini. Now, I know there are other guests. I wanted to welcome you all. Feel very welcome. But I also want to recognize my colleague, Professor Damiana Kate Maroro. You know what? When you do this business, especially those ones in academia, you actually have to go and say, you know what, can you fund this? Can you write a check? And somebody has to open the wallet. And Professor Damiana Kate, who is the DVC, Finance, Planning, and Development. Without her willing to fund this, there is no way you could have done that. Professor, can you stand so you can be recognized, please? Keep the money flowing. And so I want to welcome everyone here, but now I just want to invite the VC of KCA University. When I'm very happy with him, I call him Isaiah, and I stop there. But when I am not so sure, I call him Wakindiki. But Isaiah, please welcome.
That was Joshua. Yeah, Joshua, we have come from very far. Thank you so much, Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of Academic and Student Affairs. Before I say a few formal statements, let me say that it is written in the book of Luke, in the Gospels, the New Testament, chapter 11 and verse 1, that Jesus Christ was having a discussion with his disciples somewhere, and when they were about to conclude, one disciple named John asked him one thing: "Teacher, teach us how to pray, as John taught his disciples." Teaching is one of the oldest professions because the Bible is one of the oldest records in the human race that we read. And we are here today addressing a very old profession that we are still trying to perfect. Very interesting. Our chief guest, who is Ambassador Simon Nabukwesi, represented here today by Dr. Nanjakululu, and other members of the distinguished panel today, Dr. David Nyangere, Dr. Anthony, Professor Ishmael Munene, and Dr. Evelyn Jepkemei, and all other invited guests, members of KCA University family, which includes the staff and students, and other stakeholders, including the parents, sponsors and guardians of our students, and the general public that is connecting to us this afternoon. I say a very good and beautiful good afternoon. Thank you so much. May I welcome you all to today's function, which is the launch of the Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence at KCA University. And the theme we are addressing this afternoon is effective learner engagement in the digital era. May I take this opportunity to welcome our guests in a special way to KCA University, which is a chartered private university sponsored by the Institute for Certified Public Accountants of Kenya, which is popularly known as ISPAC, the only professional institute that has sponsored a university in this republic. We owed ISPAC with a lot of esteem, and that is why the institute is hereby represented today. Our slogan, which we love so much, is advancing knowledge, driving change, and that is why we assembled here this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, at KCA University, we advance knowledge by staying true to our core mandate of teaching, research, and outreach, an exercise that we have effectively delivered since inception of this university as a small college for accountants in 1989, until it transformed into a university chartered by the state in the Republic of Kenya in 2013. May I submit to you today that our instruments of governance and strategic plan for the year 2019-2023 recognize the digital transformation as a powerful and necessary journey that universities, and I mean our university, must undertake to respond to the worldly trends and the demands in terms of university education, the standards of education, and the quality of both teaching and research and knowledge creation. Through digital transformation, we seek to make KCA University a digitally resourced institution by transforming customer experience, building effective partnerships, and utilizing smart technologies, as well as reinvigorating our ICT infrastructure. In driving change, KCA University incorporates an element of dynamism in the delivery of our services by being responsive to new and emerging pedagogies in the university arena. Student success is considered key pillar which shall be enabled via adoption of digital technologies in teaching and learning. Ladies and gentlemen, the Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence, which we launched today, seeks to revolutionize KCA University teaching and learning under the strategic pillars: student engagement and success, as well as academic staff career advancement, academic leadership, adoption of digital technologies in teaching and learning, as well as sustainability and growth. The center aims to promote a university culture that values and promotes practical and research-based teaching approaches which go beyond plain knowledge to include critical thinking and effective communication among learners. In addition, the center shall enhance faculty success as a necessary enabler for student or learner success. In pursuit of our vision and mission, the university charter mandates us to establish partnerships and linkages with the industry. To our guests, I wish to request you to join us in the execution of our mandate as we effectively engage our learners to be productive citizens of international repute. I want to thank you most sincerely, ladies and gentlemen, and as I request you to allow me now to introduce to you our chief guest for today, Dr. Nanja Kululu. Dr. Nanja Kululu is not completely new in this university. He has been here before in the company of our principal secretary, Ambassador Nabukwesi, and many other times he has found time to be with us. He is currently serving as the State Department of University Education and Research in the Republic of Kenya as a Deputy Director. Daktari is a qualified teacher. He holds a Bachelor of Education degree from Kenyatta University. He has a master's degree in education, specializing in measurements and evaluation from the University of Nairobi, and also a PhD in education, specializing in curriculum development from the Catholic University of Eastern Africa. Dr. Nanjakululu has a rich working experience, having served as a graduate teacher in high school, teaching mathematics and chemistry, rising through the ranks in education to be the Deputy Director in charge of TVETA. He has served as CEO, Kenya National Qualifications Authority, Deputy Director, University Education in charge of local universities, and has been a consultant in various fields, especially to do with the TVET and specializing in matters curriculum. Dr. Nanjakululu, I welcome you, sir, to address us this afternoon in this auspicious occasion. Thank you so much, and you are welcome.
Thank you so much, the VC, Professor Isaiah Wakindiki. I think you have done it so well, that introduction, I don't know whether I will live by it. That was so eloquent, so I'll try my best. The VC, KCA, Professor Isaiah Wakindiki, the Deputy VCs, the Director, CTLE, our invited guests, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. As you have heard, my name is Dr. Nanjakululu Owanambirifuma. I didn't want to introduce that one because the DVC academic, I don't know what will have happened. So it's Owanambirifuma. That is famous. The name I'm known by. So I stand here on behalf of my Principal Secretary, State Department of University Education and Research, Ambassador Simon Nabukwesi, who would have wished to be here, but because of other commitments, and when you are in that office, sometimes some of them you don't plan, so he requested that I stand in for him as he attends to those matters, and that's why I'm here trying to fit in his shoes. Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored today as a State Department to have been invited to grace this auspicious occasion. This is an occasion of its own in this Republic of Kenya, especially in our higher institution, or institution of higher learning. Ladies and gentlemen, as you have heard, I'm a professional teacher. So I will talk from my experience in relation to what we're going to launch today. And I'll take you to the Bible. James 3, verse 1. Who can be able to read for us? I'm not preaching. But anybody who has found can read for us? James 3, verse 1. Just verse 1.
Thank you. This is the book of James, chapter 3, verse 1. Taming the tongue. And it says, "Not many of you should become teachers, my fellow believers, because you know that we who teach will be judged more strictly."
So how many of us have decided to be teachers? The Bible is warning. The Bible warns, it's warning that not many of us should become, because the judgment of a teacher is going to be harsher than of a doctor and an engineer. And as we were sharing with the VC, he talked of something that struck my mind, that there has been an unusual trend that we think teachers belong to the basic section of education. Teachers are those teaching ECD. Teachers are the ones teaching primary. Teachers are the ones teaching perhaps even in secondary and technical institution. But when it comes to institution of higher learning and especially universities, we don't have teachers. Do you have teachers at the university? Because it seems university has been left to Tom and Harry. Anybody can teach at the university. You don't need to be a professional teacher to teach. But the Bible is saying what? Not many of us should become teachers. The issue is that when you decide to become a teacher, and it's not deciding, it should be a calling. When you have the calling of becoming a teacher, remember the lives of very many God's creation is in your hands. I was just trying to look at my background when I was teaching, and I realized close to over 8,000 students passed through my hands. That means I was determining their future. I was molding them. And I normally say as a teacher, when you have these students, when they come to you, they are like, you open up your palm, just like they are butterfly, very beautiful. When they come, they have a lot of hope. They fall in your palm. And when you fold the palm, if a butterfly fell on my palm and I folded and I asked, Prof, is it alive or dead? What will be your answer? I am the determinant. Correct, madam. It's me to determine. I will have folded my palm and pressed it, or I am folding and holding tenderly. So when students come to you as a teacher, their lives, their hope is in. And that's why I always ask, what happened? If these students come when they join, for example, I went and did some research. I went to a primary school. You go to standard 3, standard 2, and you ask them, what will you like to become when you grow up? The answer is doctor, engineer, and so on. But I normally ask the teachers, what happens after standard 8 or form 4? The engineer has been turned into a watchman. The doctor has been turned into a maid. Who changed? And therefore, teaching is not an end. It is an event. It's a process. Teaching. And therefore, it has been taken for granted. And today, as we stand here as a ministry, we are very happy with the KCA. Because what you are going to launch today is going to determine the future of these students who are here. It's going to determine the leadership of this country in terms of teaching. Because it has been taken for granted that teaching is just you walk in and walk out. But teaching is a process. And I normally say this as a curriculum specialist. A curriculum is like food. It's like food. The way you cook it and give the child, either the child will be marasma, will suffer from marasmas, or kwashoko, or will be healthy. So how you prepare the curriculum is there. But the ingredients you mix is very important as you feed them. And therefore you need some skills, knowledge on how you can mix those ingredients, the curriculum, so that you feed them. So because the curriculum is a reflection of the nation. When you see Kenyans behaving the way we are behaving, it's because of the curriculum we went through and the way we are fed by the curriculum and those who fed us. So, it's not a matter of just waking up in the morning and you say you can become a teacher or I'm a teacher. And ladies and gentlemen, remember, a university has 3 mandates. And the first one we normally say is what? Teaching. Then followed by research. Then outreach. Teaching comes first and forms 70% of the business at this university, or even more. So if teaching forms more than 70%, then we take it lightly that yes, we are teaching. The definition of learning, I don't know whether you can define learning. What is learning? Because you teach, then there is learning. That's why that center is T. Yeah? And there is L. So you teach, and then there is learning. And what is learning? We define learning as a change in the, not just behavior, the right or desired behavior. Change in the desired behavior. Change in desired behavior cannot take place if there was no proper teaching. And teaching, where you are a gardener, that is a tree and you are putting in the nutrients, that change, if we were to see the plant change, it will depend what you are feeding it and how you are feeding it. And therefore, teaching is not easy. And that's why the Bible says, if you decide to be a teacher, know that the fate waiting for you is harsher than an engineer. Because here you are dealing with human beings who are normal. You know, a doctor is not charged harshly because he will be dealing with a sick person. But a teacher, you are not dealing with a sick person, or you deal with sick people. When they come, students, are you sick? No, they are not sick. So that is the difference. And this is a human being created in God's, and it has been given to you. And you, when they come, as I've said, they have all the hopes. They want to be accountants. Yeah? For example. And then here, after 4 years, something happens. It is you. You can't blame them. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, remember this country has and now introduced another education system. Some people say it's not a system. But we are saying CBC. They say 844 is a system because it's 844. But this one also we have to We have 6, we have 3 and 3. So, we have introduced CBC, competence-based curriculum. And as we were watching the documentary, the director talked about it. It's about outcome-based. It is no longer the teacher having the authority in class. It's not about assuming that when these children come to class, they are a tabula rasa, they are empty. They have something. How can you use that something that they already have? I went to a class, Form 1, computer class, and one of first topic is what is a computer and the parts of a computer you label. And it takes 20 lessons. 20 lessons. So it's about the content you are talking about, director. It's not about the content. 20 lessons. So those are several weeks. Then I asked the teacher, imagine the students you are teaching. Some of them know computer that... Yeah, we are even at home, some of us, we give them to assist us with our phone. So they know the computer than you know. Then you're here, you are still wasting their time to label the computer for 20 lessons. For 20 lessons. Instead of using what they already know, you will spend a half a lesson to cover the 20 lessons. And using it now even digital. Yeah? If you have a smart let's say the blackboard or now you just see which is connected to the internet. So what I'm trying to say is that a Center for Teaching and Learning, which is going to be launched today, is a game changer in teaching at the university, which is the first mandate and the mandatory mandate, a cardinal mandate of a university. If there's no teaching, then that university is not there. Unless it will be a research university, you can have it as a special one, but even the research university, there must be some teaching. So teaching is very key, and as a ministry, we are indeed very grateful. And as your anthem says, you are a leader, you are leading. You are going to lead us in this area, and you are going to be a center of excellence, and people are going to come to learn from you. So you're going to drive the change. Drive the change in teaching at the university. That teaching at the university is not a matter of anybody, but you need to be professional. You need to know. You need to know. You may have the knowledge here, but the question is, how do you transmit the same knowledge so that somebody who did not have the knowledge gets to get the knowledge, and I can demonstrate to you that he has gotten the knowledge and the skills. So that's where we're going. And basically, even if you are going to use to be digital, there are basic things as a teacher that you require. You cannot run away. You cannot run away. Just like a human beings, we have basic things, but you can now add a few things on yourself. But there are basic things for you to be called a human being. And therefore, for you to be called a teacher, there are basic things that you require. And those are things that you need now to inculcate in our professors, those who are going to teach at the university. That yes, this is what you require. And therefore, from 2020, the COVID-19 taught us a lot about teaching. Because before, sometimes we put the cart before the horse or the horse before the cart. That's where we go wrong. Even if you are going to train me on how to teach digitally, I must have the basics first. You must give me the basics of a teacher. But here we rushed and we are calling people for induction 1 day, 2 days. This is how you can teach virtually. This is how to make the content and so on, without giving the academic staff the basics. And therefore, our hope is that this Center of Excellence in Teaching and Learning is going to be a role model in this country. We're going to learn from it. And those students who are here at KCA, you are lucky. You are in a university that is driving the change, and this change is going to make you to be ahead of the rest. If your teachers are going to comply, and we are saying, let's embrace this institution. It's not going to, I know people will say, why, as a professor, do I need this? I've taught for so many years, I've trained people who are accountants in various places. You still need it. Why? Remember, the students that you are going to receive from CBC, some of them will still be around 15 years. That is the challenge the universities are going to have. You are going to receive a very young generation at the university that is very explosive in terms of knowledge also. And they are coming in large numbers. Remember, we're going to have double intake next year. There's double intake, 844 and CBC. And they will be moving almost together. They will be in the same secondary school. Same secondary school, CBC, Form 1, CBC 844. That means standard grade 7 and Form 1. But what I'm trying to say, they're coming, and they're coming like tsunami. And they're very young, very young. Lucky enough, at this time you are receiving mature ones. Those that are coming are very young. And therefore, if you don't have the pedagogical skills on how to handle the young ones, we shall be having riots every day at the university. And these are the ones who will tell you as a professor, go home when you go to teach them. Because the way they have been trained to teach, the way they have been taught at primary and secondary, and they're here, you just come and you want to lecture, they are not used to that. They are not used to lecturing. They are used to doing. That's what they are being trained. So we have also to change. And you are going to drive this change. And therefore, I don't want to bore you. But what we are saying is that this is a milestone, not only at KCSE, but in this country, and more so the university sector. And therefore, we're going to request that other universities, they should not shy off and say, well, how can we have Dr. from the University of Nairobi, that how can Nairobi go and learn something for anything from KCSE? No! Let's take it positively. That it could be a younger university, it could be privately sponsored, but they have something to offer to this country, and this is where we are going. And therefore, we are saying that we are very happy as a ministry, as a State Department, that very many thanks. I want to say thank you so much, and may God bless you, and God bless the institution that we are about to launch. Thank you so much.
Wow, that's loaded. That's very loaded. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give our chief guest a round of applause. Wow, I was seated there listening, and those are very loaded ones. And they're very factual, by the way. It's always good to find somebody telling you the truth as it is, right? And I think he's done a lot of justice. And I suspect either he's a bishop or a reverend, because he started by quoting the Bible, just like Prophet Isaiah started by quoting the Bible. Thank you. And I think one of the things that has come out, we are talking about effective learning engagement in the digital era. And really, our chief guest has brought it out so clearly. So we want to go into a very juicy conversation, because he has set the ball rolling, and he's talked about teaching not being an end, but just an event. And clearly, he has declared, Prof, we are the pace setters, which we are, and I think that is really key. And curriculum being really like food, because it, in fact, that's the bit that struck me the most, yeah? The ingredients matter a lot. It's not just the end of it, but it's just like food. And you know, you can cook food to people, but the taste is different, right? And the difference is in the ingredients and how that has been used. And you know, when you're saying here, we are not actually dealing with sick people like doctors. Our panelists, you are going to have a lot to dissect, because this conversation is going to be very, very hot. And finally, our chief guest confirmed that the cardinal mandate of our university is actually teaching. And he said young people are coming, and as KCA, we are prepared for that. They are used to doing, and they will tell you if you're not doing it correctly, they will send you out of classroom. So ladies and gentlemen, let's appreciate our guest by doing. Let us all be upstanding so that he knows KCA we believe in doing. And we want to, you know, we want to invite for him the rains. Huh? The people we love here, we do invite the rains. So invite the rains, the right hand invite the rains, both hands invite the rains. The trees begin to sway, the trees sway. Thunderstorm, thunderstorm, thunderstorm. Manyunyu, manyunyu, 1 finger, 2 fingers, 3, 4, 5. One more time, invite the rains, invite the rains, invite the rains. The trees begin to sway, the trees sway. Thunderstorm, thunderstorm, thunderstorm. Manyunyu, manyunyu, 1 finger, 2, 3, 4. Thank you very much. We can take our seats. Dr. Nanjakululu, that is how we always teach by doing. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, with all that and very, very encouraging words from our CEO regarding the journey to the CTLE, we want to go into a robust conversation, and it is my honor and pleasure to introduce to you our panelists for this beautiful discussion that we are going to have. She is a prominent figure and a very, very good moderator and a wonderful MC for that matter. And I know the first time the VC met her here, he was very clear. So Dr. Zipi, over to you. The house is on fire. Take it up.
Thank you very much. Yes, the house is on fire, my dress is on fire, and I believe the event is going to be on fire, and so will CTLE. I'd like to introduce my guests and invite them so that we can understand more about CTLE and so that they can understand that KCA University is the place to be when we are talking about teaching and learning excellence. I'd like to start with Dr. Anthony Mveyange. Dr. Anthony Mveyange is a passionate Tanzanian development economist whose research and policy interests include inequality, poverty, health, education, agriculture, and everything else. Anthony has vast experience in designing and evaluating projects and programs, policy advisory, designing, and overseeing thematic research-related initiatives in Africa. Anthony has worked as a research economist in the World Bank Research Development Group in Washington, D.C. He is also a fellow of the East Africa Social Science Translation Collaborative at the Center for Effective Global Action and the founding member of the Network of Impact Evaluation Researchers in Africa based in Nairobi. Ladies and gentlemen, This man's profile will take the whole time. He is that big. Welcome Dr. Anthony Mveyange, the Executive Director, Higher Education Partnership for Africa, Social and Governance Research. Karibu. We are also going to be having virtually Professor Ishmael Munene. Munene is a tenured full professor of education at Northern Arizona University. His expertise is in Africa higher education, education in Africa, higher education governance, education research methods, and the general field of African studies. His university teaching experience includes New York in Florida and Kenya, and Find My University. He has authored 53 articles, 8 books, 21 book chapters. He is currently in the Department of Educational Leadership, Northern Arizona University in the United States. When he joins us, we will clap more. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very gender-balanced panel. So we also have Dr. Evelyn Jepkemei. She's an education policy and leadership expert. She has more than 20 years experience in the Education Center in curriculum development, policy research, emotional intelligence and leadership and instruction. She trained at Harvard University, Moore University, Ridge Universitet, Brussels. I don't know if I've pronounced it well. She is a leadership and emotional intelligence enthusiast. She is the East Africa Regional Education Advisor at World University Service of Canada, and she was a senior education specialist to SOME project at RTI. She is a senior assistant director, research motivation and evaluation at Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. Welcome, Dr. Evelyn Jepkemei. She is the East Africa Regional Education Advisor, World University Service of Canada. Welcome. Last but not least, we have got Professor Helen Inyega. She is the Associate Professor of Language and Literacy Education in the Department of Education, Communication Technology and Pedagogical Studies, University of Nairobi. She is a consultant on education in the region, providing technical support to funded projects by development partners, including USAID, World Bank, and global partners for education. She prefers to remain on the education workflow to ensure teaching and learning excellence. She has got expertise on curriculum design, development, and dissemination, project design and strategy development. She has been at the Center of Research and Grant Funding for Education Support in the region. Let's welcome Professor Helen Inyega from the University of Nairobi. Ladies and gentlemen, and I am yours truly. Karibuni sana. Before we start, I'd like to say thank you very much to our Vice Chancellor, Professor Wakindiki, our Deputy Vice Chancellor, okay, whoever wants to sabotage me seriously. It is my first time here, up here. Okay. Yeah. So I'd like to say thank you very much to our Vice Chancellor, Professor Wakindiki, our Deputy Vice Chancellors, Professor Bagaka and Professor Kieti, our Chief Guest, thank you very much for being here today, and Professor Ngigi for this very beautiful event and very important center. Our guests, I'd like to go straight to the questions since I have already introduced you. Dr. Anthony Mveyange, with all your accolades, we are so glad to have you here. I'd like you to just tell us more about on the state of pedagogy landscape in African University based on your experience and what you see as the future of education in the sector.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Thank you very much. Before I respond to the question, first let me thank the university leadership and the chief guest. I think it's always heartwarming to come to a place where they put God before everything. It's our culture where I work, so I'm always very happy to see that even speeches, they have Bible verses quoted in it. All right, so what is the landscape in Africa on pedagogy? I think The keynote speech alluded to some of the issues that we face. So allow me to give punchline of a few issues that I think are common as stylized facts across not only Kenya, but all the other countries that we work with. And for those who are interested, PASCA is operating in over 26 countries in the continent. So Kenya is one of the pilot countries that we work with in the continent. One is lack of institutionalization. And I was telling the VC today that it's really heartwarming to see you are coming to a university. From the top of the university leadership, they are top of institutionalizing CTLE. Most often in other countries that we work with departments. We have centers, for example, in Nigeria, in Ghana, and now we're expanding to Francophone, Cameroon, Senegal, Ethiopia. You don't really get to talk to the leadership. You talk to the technical people, directors like Professor Ngigi. So most often we find that it's challenging to actually mainstream the pedagogy at the university level. So seeing the university at the highest levels of leadership taking a serious direction, it's really encouraging. It's not always the case. What we have seen on pedagogy in Africa, it's teacher-centered learning. I went through that. Teacher-centered learning, manna from heaven. Teacher becomes a fontaine of knowledge. I don't think that's how it should be. And I'm really pleased to see KCA taking bold initiatives towards addressing that. You know, we have always treated our professors, and I'm sorry those who are on the floor, as mini gods, demigods. I think that era is gone. Learning has to be mutual. It has to be two ways. And I think this center is going to revolutionize that learning process. So for those who are teaching and who go to class thinking they're demigods, I think from today, you should kill your dream of being a demigod. The other idea, or rather stylized fact that we see in Africa is lack of students' creativity. And I'll talk about it later. That students, they are fed information. They don't have time to chew. You know, I think pedagogy, it's a two-way learning process. It's not only about the professor teaching, it's also the professor learning and allowing that creativity to manifest among our students. That is not the case. Most often we focus more on credentials and grades. We have students who have straight A's, and if you ask them to engage, they can't engage. These days things have changed. And I think this has been a phenomenon in Africa, and the reason why we have CTLE being set up in universities is precisely that. How do we address that? And finally, I suppose if I'm near to you, and finally, I think one of the other challenges, and this is something that I'm going to say to the university, this journey is starting today, but it's not easy. Transforming and embedding technology is not easy. It requires commitment. It requires investments. Investment in systems, investment in people, investment in the culture that is going to come out of this. So most universities in the continent, especially with the onset of COVID-19, have struggled to do blended learning, have struggled to equip students with learning. In fact, in some countries, when COVID came, learning basically stopped. And I think that should not be the case. The Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence should be a beacon of hope, and that requires commitment among different stakeholders in different spaces in the way in which they will contribute. Investments in technology is key, in a way that we will be able to allow access to technology to different cadres of students who are coming from different backgrounds. This is very important. Otherwise, the pedagogy transformation that we are referring to in the wake of the challenges, infrastructure challenges that we face in the continent, technology, absorption in the continent, the spread of ICT, if these are not addressed in tandem with all these good initiatives, we will exacerbate education inequality, will exacerbate access inequality, which again, instead of making steps forward, we'll be making steps backward. So allow me to stop there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Because of what you've just told us, I'd like to address this question to Professor Helen Inyega. He's talking about the challenges that we are facing that can create inequality. And as one of the trainers, lecturers in the university where practical assessment is very highly valued in my area, kindly tell us on the credibility and integrity of online assessment of students.
Okay. I would like to, first of all, thank senior management of KCA University for inviting me here, and to thank our chief guest who has set the pace. Going straight to the question on credibility of online assessment, I know we, in many universities, we were able to jump onto the deep end of the pool after COVID hit. All of us were caught flat-footed. Very few universities, and maybe KCA may have had a head start if you had already begun integrating technology, but most universities were actually caught flat-footed, and so, you know, you clutch at the straws. What is the next available thing for me to use to be able to get the students to finish the semester? And so you find that we very quickly, almost one-on-one, transferred our yellow notes onto how we could teach online without enough information. And the same would be said of the assessment. Again, we very quickly, for some of us who had an opportunity to go through training, who were trained on how to actually set examinations online, but I have my reservations, and you can ask any lecturer, any professor, in terms of the credibility of the examinations, because who is sitting at the other end? One of my students being in Turukana, another student being in Peketoni, how sure are we that the person sitting at the other end is actually the bona fide student of whichever university it is that you're setting the examinations for? So I know there would be many issues that surround credibility, much more so for lack of information, lack of training, and as Anthony has talked about, lack of infrastructure that enables us, once you've put this examination online, are you able, using technology and its accessories, to actually see on the other end, you know, login credentials, being able to see the person who is doing the examination, making sure that they're actually not copy-pasting from the internet, because I have read excerpts from my students at the University of Nairobi, and I could map onto something I saw on the internet. So yes, credibility is an issue, but I think for me it's much more foundational, in the sense that what culture have our students grown up in, right from high school, primary school, high school? Have we been taught to be people of integrity, so that even when no one is watching, I can still actually just rely on my knowledge to be able to attempt these questions given to me? So I think if we step back two steps, we'll be able to realize that there are issues of integrity, academic honesty that come into play. So if you were to really go into that, you would begin to, where did we start off in terms of issues of integrity? Has it all of a sudden just happened with online examinations, or there was a track record of some of those not being honest when we engage with examinations? So I think you really need to open it up a little bit, but yes, the examinations, the assessment processes are wanting. But of course there is hope, and I'm sure we'll get to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Of course there is hope, because at KCA we are believing, like our Vice Chancellor always says, we will be a full-fledged virtual university. So, to Dr. Evelyn Jepkemoi, reading your bio, especially on emotional intelligence, I'd like to give you a question that has been set by the two other panelists. One of the panelists has said that nowadays there's a lack of creativity amongst learners. And I want to put that back to the history that also Dr. Helen is telling us about our background? Because a lot of us we cram for exams. Now, with all those challenges, do you think anything can be done right now to make better the teaching and excellence? Because we are coming from a teacher-based mode, and we are now going to a student-based or learner-based mode, and we'd like the creativity to come back. We'd like people to be more engaged. How can we do this, especially in terms of policy, since that's your area?
Okay. Thank you very much. I'd like to also thank the university leadership for having me this afternoon. When we talk about creativity, and it's something that is very close to my heart, because without creativity, we can't, we will continue to reenact what has always been. And creativity allows us, students, both students, and I'm really grateful that you called this Center for Teaching and Learning. That there's teaching, but there's also learning. And where teaching is where you present information, and that information is then transformed by the learner into a skill that they are able to do something. I was reading an article last night about the correlation between the countries that create knowledge, that keep on uploading information onto the internet, and its social development. And it so turns out that the countries that, like ours, that we like to download stuff, we like to Google and download stuff, but we never think about uploading any information, even information about, very basic things about our country, a country that is very rich. We don't, my sister Helen here is a hiker. I don't know if she has uploaded her experience on hiking Mount Kenya online, that someone who is planning to hike can go and make reference to that. So my hope, and you mentioned there is hope, my hope is that with the learner-centered approaches that we are now advocating for, that it might be possible for that. Creativity never went anywhere. It's just that the system does not require us to demonstrate that creativity. These young people who are here singing, I noticed, I recognized parts of the song, but they took it and made it their own and focused it to today's event. That's creativity. But if you're not required to demonstrate that creativity, then you tank it, you keep it, and then you go and you cram examinations. So I think it is a societal thing. And the challenge, I suppose, to the academy is how do we actually transform even how society views information, how society interacts with information, such that when we interact with information, we then change that information into a skill or an attitude or an aptitude, indeed, that can be useful to us as a society. And when we talk about creativity, the university is the hub of, where the mind comes into bloom. At the basic level, we are still trying to show the way. But at the university, there is that awareness, and this is the place where that creativity really needs to be very dynamic, and we need to be able to see more of that. And I guess that is the challenge for the center. How do you make sure that you're pushing away the teacher-centered learning approaches and bring in both learning and teaching into this environment?
Thank you very much. And back to Dr. Anthony Mveyange. I'd like to give you to ask you about new knowledge. A lot of times, especially the professors in the house, when we supervise students, we keep saying, cite, where did you get that from? Where did you get that from? Where is the room for new knowledge? Is there a time when we can listen to the student and we just say it came from their mind, it came from their creativity, and we applaud it without saying where did it come from and where is the space for that new knowledge?
That's a good one.
It's a learner-based approach.
You're putting me on a collision with the renegades. I see what you're doing. And I'll use an example of a classic model of learning that Africa is trying to embrace now. African Leadership University, if you have followed it. I've had engagement with them in Kigali, in Mauritius. There are three levels. They have pedagogy. We are talking of pedagogy, but there's andragogy and then there's heterogogy. So they are on very high end of the spectrum. We are still on the pedagogy because that's what we do in Africa. But their mode of learning is students choose how they want to learn. At their own pace, they pace themselves, they come to class, they present what they've researched, and your role as a teacher, as a professor, is to guide them. It's a two-way transaction. You listen to them. Growing in Africa, having gone to school in Africa, having gone through the classic model, I think majority here have gone through, there's no room for that. I don't think you can tell Professor Wakindiki that you don't know. You look at you and say, young man, what is wrong with you? But I think time has changed. If there's one thing that professors in universities need to embrace, is the fact that world has been, things have changed. We have decolonized knowledge. Teachers are no longer, don't have the monopoly of knowledge anymore. So a good professor would want to engage. You would want to get feedback from students. You would want to also hear. In fact, why do you have to do all the hard work of preparing slides? They can prepare for you. Give them hard work to go and research for you. Give them sections to read and come and present and engage. The way you make the class interactive, it really makes it easy for students to learn. So there's room, and that room is cultural. Let me start from there. Cultural in the sense that we need to change our mindsets. We should not look at students as children. We should perhaps start looking at students as equal peers in the learning process. As much as we feed them with the right guidance and direction, they are also giving us so much. We learn a lot from them. It's important to recognize that learning process is a feedback loop. It's not unidirectional. It's multidirectional. You are giving, you are also getting back. And the more you have that interactive engagement and feedback and conversations, the easier it becomes to allow creativity, to allow an environment that critical thinking can be nurtured, to allow an environment where things will not just go as they go. You know, in other classes, I know a professor walks in. I remember in my grad school, a professor asks me, what are you doing here? You don't deserve to be here. Imagine. It discourages students. And I actually proved him wrong. I became the best student in that class. But what I'm trying to say here, we should not look down at students. As much as we are guiding them, we have a role, the chief guest spoke about, the way we put the ingredients, but how the food tastes, they have to give us feedback whether your food is good or not. So if the food is not good, it's not a student to blame. It's a teacher, it's a professor to blame. So I think there's room, but that room would require cultural change, mindset change, and allowing parents, teachers, professors, management to be inclusive in the way educational systems are going to run through the CTLE. Thank you.
Thank you. Just connecting your question to Dr. Evelyn Jepkimei. He's talking about involving all cultural and social groups. But when we look at our society, we have got a lot of challenges in our communities, especially when you're talking about virtual learning, and even when we have blended learning modes. How do you think we can work on this to ensure excellence, even for people living in very disadvantaged areas? And this is like more than, apart from just the challenge of internet and technology, how else can we help?
Thank you very much. I happen to work in a refugee environment. Part of my work involves working with refugees. And I think your question is very apt, because that is exactly the questions and the solutions that we are seeking for refugee populations. When COVID hit, some of our students in the refugee environments already were struggling. They are struggling with trauma. They are struggling with loneliness, living by themselves in the camps. They also struggle with, lack of the, basic needs. And then, most importantly, there's no technology that has reached into, these particular areas. And when the Ministry of Education was saying children can learn on radio, there's no radio that reaches Kakuma or Dadaab. When other people are going online and doing Zoom, how do you Zoom to people who, even if they have smartphones and there is some amount of internet, at what point do they decide to forego lunch so they can be able to buy the bundles, And so the question of inequalities is extremely visible in those particular areas. And it so happens that the refugee camps are also within the marginalized regions of Kenya. And one of the things that I usually say is that until, learning and education does not happen in a vacuum. It happens within an environment of development across the board. So when you look at, we need to look at the infrastructure. We also need to look at, the other social amenities that feed into education. Transport, for example, the distance between schools, for example, the distance between one point of learning to the next point of learning is just impossible. And so it is important that the government and all of us who are working in that space look for ways and means to be able to bridge the gap for this particular community. But beyond the infrastructure, there is also the capability. For example, I have young people who are coming from South Sudan and from Somalia who do not understand any of the languages that we use around. So the question I've been asking myself is there a way that we can actually create content in Somali or in one of the African languages that are spoken by the refugee communities? We have refugees from Congo, we have from Burundi and all these places. And even if we were to avail the state-of-the-art technology, there are still social problems that are embedded within a marginalized community that need to be addressed. So we are not just looking at the technical side of teaching or the technical side of education, but we're also looking at the emotional and the social side of it. When someone is coming out of a traumatic experience, do you first tell them, you are going to sit your KCPE at the end of the year? Or do you let them sit down and kind of try to understand where they are in their life before you begin to give them targets of what they need to reach at the end of the year? So there's a whole lot of things. And so in terms of looking at pedagogy and andragogy, it's very important for us to think about the recipients of the content that we will then be sending out. For example, a student who is 18 years old and is from South Sudan and is not able to read, where do you start them from? So in terms of age, you will want to place them where 18-year-olds are. That is at the end of year 12 of basic education. But at that level, they won't be able to fit there. So the ability to be flexible, to integrate technology that will then allow us to ensure that content is flexibly designed to meet the needs of the learners is very important.
Thank you very much. And now I'd like to come to you, Professor Helen. Based on your research on teacher support systems, I'd like you to help us familiarize with now the issue of CBC. We are having CBC here with us. The students, very soon they'll be joining university. However, in our university system, we are taking time to change our modules in all programs into a CBC system. What happens when the students come and then we are still teaching the way we were? What do you think we can do? Because I think in exactly 4 or 5 years, they will be in colleges and universities.
Okay, thank you very much. And it's good that we are realizing earlier on, Daktari, our guest of honor, actually said there will be a crisis. If you do nothing about it, if you're not planning, then you're planning to fail. But thank God we are not doing that here at KCA. I'm glad that as we are launching this Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence, I want to be able to amplify that word excellence because it means you're thinking ahead. what does excellence look like in regards to CBC. And again, the chief guest was very clear in determining that and then saying that these guys are hands-on. They're not going to listen to you lecture at them. They will throw you out of class. So what do we need to do differently so that we actually are prepared for them? And this is exactly what you're doing. Launch a center, and you've been told it's only the beginning. So begin to walk the journey. In 3 years' time, you will be ready for them. And one of the ways to get ready is to re-engineer the curriculum, and I think the process has begun to re-engineer the curriculum so that it's much more hands-on. And I'm glad you're bringing in the right skill set to be able to walk with you the journey. For example, what Pascal does, to be able to look at the curriculum. How can this curriculum be offered in different ways, you know, within a blended learning forum? How would that look like? If you're going to flip the classroom where you're giving the students assignments and they come to class to present, how differently are you going to do that? So those are the questions we need to begin asking. One, I need to package this content differently so that it provides more for hands-on experience, or what we call experiential learning, so that the students actually enjoy coming to the class. You seed the ground. You're no longer going to be that sage on the stage. You will seed the ground to be the facilitator or the guide on the side, as we call it, so that then you let the students take the lead, you let the students drive the process. And I liked it that Anthony talked about hitagogy. Hitagogy, where we celebrate learner-centered learning or learner-centeredness, them being able to drive the process, them being able to engage in self-paced learning. We are going to move away from the idea of setting standard examinations. Of course, when you go through the various training programs, you learn about alternative assessment approaches. In my classes, one of the things I've done, for example, I do not have to have the students do a sit-in cut. So if I'm teaching about children's literature, can you send me a video of you reading to a child to demonstrate the skills that you're learning? So I think we are going to move away from the traditional modes of teaching and assessment to incorporate more different ways of learning, but also different ways of assessment. So all those have to change. And I think you're, Professor Ngigi, you're doing the right thing, guiding the university, shepherding them towards a place where they look at the content and they're able to change. More importantly, I think for the universities is for the faculty to have an open mind. You know, you also need to have a teachable spirit. What do my students bring on the table? And can I trust them to be able to actually take this course through? Also being able to share with them the learning outcomes that Prof, you talked about earlier. These are the learning outcomes. This is how I'm going to assess you. You need to be able to work to achieve these milestones. So you'll be able to share with the students in a competency-based education and training. They need to be able to know the criteria you're using. So I see us actually being able to walk that journey, re-engineering our curriculum and being able to re-engineer our assessment protocols, assessment approaches.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'd like to have a follow-up of that question, which even Dr. Anthony will answer. Currently, the teachers teaching in the country right now are the same ones who taught us the cramming methods to passing exams, but they are the same ones teaching CBC. Some time back, there was a debate on whether they should go back to school, and they asked at whose expense. If we are looking at the education sector, we have a shortage of enough teachers to student ratio. What is your take in terms of policy, in terms of the reality of this, like the reality of the current teachers being able to teach CBC? How can we change their mindset? How can we help them embrace this? And yeah, that's a mouthful. That's why it's a question for two people. Okay, Professor Helen can start.
Yes, I think, like we said earlier, If you think education and investment in education is expensive, try ignorance. You know, you want to be able to learn and relearn and upskill. We have no choice as lecturers, and I'm speaking to all of us who are in the classrooms. We have to remove everything we knew and fill it with new knowledge and new ways of learning. So we can't afford to not inquire what else is out there to make our classrooms much more innovative. You know, doing the same old thing and expecting a change in the results would be foolhardy. So really, investment in capacity building, and I think the team, thank you, Prof. Damiano, release the monies. Release the monies for them to build their capacity, for them to upskill, the lecturers to upskill. By the time the students come in, they are ready. So lots of funding needs now to be reallocated to capacity building of staff, and already I have no doubt with this center, that is going to happen. And secondly, being able to partner. I think I like the idea of partnerships, and the partnership, for example, with PASGA and other institutions who are here in the house. What is happening at the University of Nairobi? What's happening in Nigeria, you know? What is happening in North Tagota, in the university out there? So that we are learning from each other. Knowledge and innovation exchange then becomes critical. How have you been able to do this very quickly? What did you do differently? So I think learning from each other, networking, being able to re-engineer, and then seeding the ground and letting the students drive the process, to me would be a way. What are you bringing on the table? How do you want to learn? And involving them in determining even how they will be assessed. I know that goes against the grain. But for example, if in my class some students decided to do a skit, would I give them marks for the skit like what they did here today, instead of saying you need to sit in class? So really just, we are going to have a mind shift as people, or else we'll be left on the highway as the train leaves.
Thank you very much. Dr. Anthony, I'll now want you to focus now on the basic education teachers going back to school.
Today I was sitting on another panel in the morning, and my task was to talk about Kenyan research development agenda. What are the priorities? One of the speakers talked about budget allocations and what can Kenyan government do in economic space to improve development and prosperity of this nation. In the basic education, I won't go further from what Prof said. If you think education is expensive, try ignorance. How much money is spent on presidential trips? How much money is spent in the Senate and MCAs? How much money right now is spent for campaigns? What we need to change is just a fraction of what is being spent now. What we lack is commitment. And this is not only a Kenyan problem, this is an African problem. We go to donors, and I say today, there are so many initiatives in Africa that are being set up, but funded by donors. I don't have anything against donors. We do welcome development partners, but unless we take bold initiatives to determine the agenda and the direction of our countries, no one will do that. No one will do that. So even for basic education, it's important for our children. I'm pretty sure if we say, let's not eat mbuzi, let's not eat nyama choma, so our kids and our teachers get trained, we can. But the problem is, do we have the moral compass to do that? What are our priorities? How do we set the agenda for all of these? And this is the bigger conversation. A couple of weeks ago, I attended a very big forum on rethinking development for Africa. And one of the agenda with donors that we were having is how do we allow Africans to set their own agenda? Setting one agenda is one thing, but once we have set that agenda, we need to have commitment. If we lack commitment, that agenda is as good as a piece of paper. So out of the money that is domestically mobilized by KRA, how much is allocated for education sector? We can't wait for Muzungu to come and do it for us. It's literally impossible. But if we want true change, we are collecting taxes. If Wananchi needs to pay more taxes to accommodate, why not? Because that's the foundation, ECD, Early Childhood Development. Last year I did a study for Porticus Africa. Porticus Africa, they support ECD across countries in Africa. We did ECD for Kenya in all slums in Nairobi. I was the lead researcher. And the things that we uncovered, the gap, the upbed schools in the slums in Nairobi, they just need, the amount of money and resources they need to revamp the system is not compared to what the president will spend going to America for a state visit. So the question is, what our priorities are. And this, I think, it's something that as we go, and I'm not a politician, as we go and vote, this is something we need to pay attention to. What are the priorities? Let's not go and vote for along ethnic lines. Let's focus on the issue and what is important for this country, what is important for our continent. Because if we can't do it, nobody else can. Thank you.
Before I open the floor for a round of questions, I'd like to address this question to Dr. Evelyn Jepkemei. Evelyn, with your vast experience, now that you've even told us that you're working in the arid places, when COVID came, we had the challenges that all the panelists here have already told us about. But one thing that I can say, the trainers in the creative sector we had was when we wanted our students to watch any previous works of maybe even, let me say something as easy as acting or directing techniques, we did not have our Kenyan works online. Like having Kenyan plays online was so few. And almost all the examples that we had to put there were like from abroad. And I believe this was a challenge in many, many, many other sectors. So when we look at what we have right now, what do you think is the way forward when you're thinking about assessment? What are the other challenges that we have on policy and assessment? Because when we think of using other videos, there's also the issue of plagiarism unless it is on open source. So how can we ensure that our works are also out there? Because with time, yes, we need to record, but right now, how can we ensure assessment, the online and virtual assessment in blended learning?
When we talk about online learning, I think what we are saying is that we are actually shifting. It's not what Helen said, that we transfer the notes, the yellow notes onto an online platform. I think online learning requires different modes of engagement, okay? And you can see it even in our Zoom meetings. The platform itself dictates how you engage right there. And I think that as we begin to integrate ICT into teaching and learning and even publishing and all these things, it's important for us to know that we've shifted. The paradigm has shifted from in-person, where you can actually see that every student is there and writing their exam. And so my thoughts are that why don't we think about more transformative ways of actually assessing, where you probably don't require to give 60 seconds to a student to be able to send you back their work? Why don't we focus on problem-based, where students, wherever they are, whether they are in the creative industry, whether they are in the economics and whatever, find a problem and try to come up with solutions to the problem in that particular sector. I feel that if we transfer what we have been doing into an online platform, we risk running into a problem, the dilemma of how there are certain things that you just can't do online that you can do face to face. So we need to think creatively around assessment. What does a good assessment of this particular subject look like? Even if the student doesn't have to sit for 3 hours for a full exam. The other thing is the question of content creation. It's very interesting to think that Africa is very rich when it comes to creativity, we are the owners of songs and poems and so many things. The other day I was looking for an old poem that I learned when I was in high school online. I couldn't find it. And yet, you know, these are Swahili poems that are coming from the 1700s. They have not been curated. So then we need to look at how do we keep our records? How do we you know, when we are looking at anthropology, how do we store our knowledge? Coming from a culture that is heavily oratory and narrative-based, how do we change? How do we shift the paradigm so that we are also able to record and curate the content that we have and make it available not just for future generations, but for others in other countries as well to benefit from them, and stop the idea that Africa is that dark place that nobody knows what goes on in there. We need to put out the content that we have. And so internet access, and I would like to mention something in conclusion to that let's talk positively about creatives, about the creative industry. It is very disturbing to me every time I hear people in leadership talk about useless degrees and useless courses, because I think when it comes to philosophy, you know, there is science and there is STEM and there is engineering, and we are all very happy about what science has done for us. We have medicine, we have technology and all these kinds of things. But I think also it's important for us to realize that what our professor said here, he quoted the Bible. The religion has its place. The music has its place. Poetry has its place. Painting and all these things have their place for us to be a wholesome society. And so as people who are in position of influence, it is also important for us to talk positively about those disciplines that right now they are being seen as though they are not. Liberal education still has its place. So, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Jepkemoi. You're my hero. Let's talk creatively about the creative industry. Tumpige makofi ya hiyo. And at KCA, I think our department, the Department of Performing Arts and Film, we are the ones who have already embraced CBC at this level. We teach a lot of our units practically and do assessments practically. Back to the floor, I'd like to open the floor for any questions to our panelists or even to Professor Ngigi. He's the director and he's here.
Focus on what my sister Evelyn talked about earlier on. Issues to do with authentic assessment and the shift that we are seeing from purely face-to-face to a blend of face-to-face and online. And I'm also foreseeing a situation where we might go online completely. And then the concern that you have for assessment. Because sometimes in the circles you'll hear when you are having online examinations, the question that lands in our mind, of course there are many systems that have come up that is the person behind the screen the one who should be doing that examination? And if this is a person who should be doing this examination, how sure are we? Is there there's no other machine somewhere here that the person can access still without our knowledge? You know, there are many ways of building the system. So, I don't know, Dr. What's your take on that now? And, you know, it's inevitable. We are going online, and we're actually there. So where do we strike the balance of authenticity of our assessment procedures? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll take one more, then we answer those two. Yes.
Thank you for the very wonderful discussions. And I'm Peter Njuguna. And I would want to direct my question to Dr. Evelyn, particularly because I think it touches on emotional intelligence, because digital transformation comes with a couple of disruptors. Are there some practical tools or practical best practices that can be adopted to manage those disruptions, particularly from a runner perspective? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will start with your question. You know, emotional intelligence is a very interesting attribute or a component of who we are as human beings. It's the ability to know yourself, to know what triggers you, for example, to know how you would respond to certain situations. It is also the capability to have empathy towards others and how to manage relations. Now, when it comes to online, all of us have an online footprint, an online presence. And I'm sure each one of us, at one point or other, has received a nasty comment on your Google Hangout chat, or on your Facebook, or your Instagram, or on your Twitter. How do we package ourselves? And it will still come to what Dr. Ngigi, Professor Ngigi has said. How do we manage ourselves? How do we respond to nasty comments, for example, that are bound to happen to us online? But also, how do we behave when we are online? Sometimes I look at comments that even some people that I respect make online, and I'm like, is that really that person, or is it someone else? So the value system that we grow up into, and I think this talks to the political capital that we have, because then we are talking about values, and we are also talking about just the ability to be empathic. And so if we are emotionally intelligent, then it means we are able to control and empathize with the person who is the target of the content that we are putting out. Whether it is a comment on social media, or whether it is in fact a subject of an academic interest. And so I think the question of emotional intelligence comes down to the nurture at the very basic levels. And my hope would be that as we talk about CBC being a competency-based education, we also remember that it is a value-based education, that kids are taught to learn values and you know, what rules society, and how we can build a good society by being self-aware, by being able to empathize with others, and also how to manage the relationships that happen. We are going into a world of online dating. And I see a lot of problems in the US, for example, where you meet with someone online and then you end up being kidnapped. You know, as society moves into online, we need to begin to think about what are our behaviors like? What are the loopholes that are online? And how can we be able to close those loopholes? And so it comes the loophole of examinations and assessment. I think that we need to move away completely from score-based assessment, where we are giving, you know, questions and imagining that perhaps if there's somebody else in that cyber who is talking to my student and giving them the answers, I think we can design our assessment in such a way that it is not a question and answer kind of a thing, but it is a nuanced, you know, demonstration of what the learner has actually achieved as they have gone through your course. And there are many ways of being able to do that without necessarily asking them questions that someone else can be able to tell them the answer. And this requires that we teach at a very high level. When you talk about it's not Bloom's, the taxonomy, you are talking about from the level of synthesis and analysis and beyond. So we no longer do recall and you know, and the lower level kind of competencies. And particularly at the university level, that will help us, because the more people synthesize information, the more creative they become. And so then we are hitting two birds with one stone. We are providing room for content creation, and we are also making sure that our assessment records are giving us what is correct. And by the way, if we went that direction, the challenges that the Kenya National Exam Council is facing now of exam cheating would be a thing of the past. How have other countries done? And I think we shouldn't imagine that we are inventing the wheel, because other countries have gone ahead of us, slightly ahead of us. I know Singapore is right ahead of us, South Korea, and we can learn from them, and then we customize those to fit our environment and our cultural milieu. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Helen.
I would like to pick up from where Dr. Jepkemei left about the assessment and focus a little bit more. You had said earlier about problem-based learning. So there are approaches which we can use that are more authentic in nature, that allow learners to collaborate on particular projects and are able to submit as a group. So that takes away the pressure of me being able to show that I'm better than so and so. You're judging them based on the quality of the product they have co-created as a team. So as I said earlier, we'll be moving away from the paper pencil, the lower order in terms of Bloom's taxonomy, and have the students actually work together to be able to submit projects. Some of the trainings we've gone through, and I would like to make a correction. Earlier on, I said when COVID-19 hit, we went online. We latched onto online blindly with our yellow notes. It doesn't work like that. You have to re-engineer your way of packaging the content online, ways of facilitating the content online, and also ways of assessment. So for example, if you're wanting to assess issues related to emotional intelligence, we can use like scenarios. And so some of the programs that we are taken through as universities, they are very big on scenarios. So you present a scenario wherein the students are able to demonstrate whether or not they have emotional intelligence vis-a-vis the task that has been given to them. So I see more hands-on activity, more, even when you're thinking about assessments, you look at tools that are not just basically requiring for someone to mark like checklists. You can have a criteria that you use to be able to determine whether the students are achieving the milestones. So basically, we want to be able to have students demonstrate what they are able to do, not what they know. So we are moving away from the head knowledge towards the hands-on experience, towards the hats-on. Both of them, all three are important, heads-on, hands-on, and hats-on, but we want to be able to celebrate more their empathy, emotional and social intelligence, but at the same time also looking at what can they do, what are they able to do. And so the assessments will be aligned with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Unless it's very pressing. One, any other person? Two, final. Okay. Only the two, then we will not have another round of questions. The back. The lady in red.
Thank you. My name is Mukami, a trainer, KCA Technical. I've heard from our guest speaker and all the other participants here, and the conversation is headed towards, now with the CBC coming now from, very soon we'll have junior high school, and now they will progress to universities. I am afraid that maybe at the university level, we will now bid goodbye to the untrained teachers and now start, employing trained teachers. I would want to hear your view on that, so that those of us who are not trained teachers, or those people who are not trained teachers, before the 4 years get us here and we are told to pack and leave, now we will know how to prepare ourselves. And in line with that, maybe Professor Ngige can also probably, if there are any plans to prepare the teachers or maybe the lecturers towards the same, and of course borrow from the University of Nairobi, I would want to hear what plans there are. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Much for the very interesting panel discussion. My name is Edwin Wege from PASGA, Partnership for Social and Governance Research. And I'm very pleased to hear the conversation, especially from Professor Nyega and Dr. Jacqueline about assessment, and basically nudging us to move away from perhaps what I may call an overemphasis on summative evaluations, and thinking about how is it that we can have students and learners demonstrate that which they have learned beyond cognitive recollection, and more into practical skills which involve, analysis and creation. So at PASGA, we've trained over close to 3,000 university lecturers in pedagogy. And for the most part, we've been using revised Bloom's taxonomy. So my question is actually to both of you. So most of these instructional learning models, for the better part, they are westernized. There's Bloom, there's Merrill's, there's Addy, and there's all that. I'm curious, is there any room, or is there anyone who is thinking about experiments in indigenous instructional designs? And is that happening? And should that be something we should be thinking about right here? And what can we do about that? And number two, also in my experience working with lecturers, you find that many people have already been teaching for a while. They're much older, and there's there's technophobia, especially since COVID, when universities were forcing everyone to go online. Maybe in your experiences, even Prof. Ngige, perhaps, what strategies have you used to maybe mitigate or to address technophobia and have people come into spaces where they are interacting with educational tech in a meaningful way and also growing in the process? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will request you to answer the question as you give your final statements. Yes.
All right. I will start with the last question that you asked. How do we address technophobia? And I want to give an example of a project that I was involved with Dr. Inyega. When we introduced the primary math and reading initiative, the teacher coaches were expected to use a tablet in collecting data and as they coach the teacher in the classroom. And the coaches that we were using were people we call tech tutors. They are now curriculum support officers, CSOs. They are employees of the ministry, but they used to run teacher advisory centers, but those centers died. And so when you look at their age, the age was about 50 and beyond. And we were introducing them to smartphones. And my previous experience with them was such that if I texted one of them to say, I'm coming to your zone today, they would call back. And I realized the reason why they were calling back is because they were not able to text. So when we were thinking about introducing the idea of tablets for data collection, I had this trepidation. How would they use a smartphone if they can't use the band phone, the kawaida one, to even text me back? And we designed a way that was very, we thought about what do we want them to do with this tablet. So we wanted them to have the tablet on. We wanted them to go straight to the tool that we were using. And so what we did was to make sure that the tablet, if they switched it on, the tablet came on with that particular tool only, without all the many things. And so during training, we would tell them, can you look at the side of the tablet? Can you press it? What do you see? The thing lights up. What do you see after the thing has lit up? We can see an icon of an orange. I think it was an orange, tangerine. Mm-hmm. And so over time, they became more comfortable as they moved along. And these are gadgets, and people kind of will habituate towards using those tools. By the end of 1 year, all of them had downloaded Bibles into their tablet. They had, they even started getting their SIM cards into the tablet, so they use it as a phone and as a tablet. So I think when you introduce this with a very non-threatening way, it is possible to get it's possible to have even the most technophobic person to feel comfortable because they are not threatened. The second question that you asked about the theories that we're using of learning, CBC is actually a very African theory because if you remember, traditional knowledge was passed through apprenticeship. And in my community, for example, that is pastoralist nomadic, the first thing that you would learn is how to take care of sheep. So when I was younger, actually, my grandfather taught me that when you wake up early in the morning and you look up the hill, I come from Cherangani and we have the Cherangani hills. When you see the back of the hill is very bright in the morning, that means that it's unlikely to rain. But when you wake up in the morning and it is blue, make sure that your sheep, don't take them very far. Make sure they are around because you are likely to be rained on. That is knowledge that is transformed into a skill. Right now, I can go home to my village home, and I wake up in the morning and I say, you know what, it's going to rain today, even if there is not a single cloud in the sky. So when I look at CBC, it is actually patterning the African traditional way of teaching, only that we are now doing it in schools and we are doing it in classrooms. But the problem is, as educators, we have not documented the linkages between the CBC, for example, and traditional African education. So the disconnect is that it is not documented while Bloom's is already documented. I think I'll let you handle that. Oh, we were supposed to make
your final statement.
Okay. I have such a passion about education and leadership, and Professor Ngigi, I'm really proud of what you guys are doing here, because as you move towards that online space and as you move towards opening the door the teaching skill to more people, that means that even in our engineering departments, we are likely to have, better methods of teaching and better knowledge impartation. And I think this is the way to go. This is the way to go. I'm a product of Moore University, and there are many times I wished to see my professors do something different. There are many times I wish to see, some level of dynamism, even in the manner in which we approach teaching, whether it is teaching in research or whether it's teaching in sociology or whatever it is. So I think that what you have done is something that we will all be watching, we will all be looking to support, and we will be cheering you on as you move with this center. So thank you very much and congratulations.
Okay, thank you. Mine would be to respond to the lady who talked about training, what is going to happen. What I would like to say is that within the Ministry of Education, and the guest of honor, I think he left, but the Ministry of Education has, and TSC, are actually putting measures in place to be able to professionalize the teachers. Some of those changes are very abrasive, and some of them are very painful. One of which, for example, was that the teachers have to fund their own professional development. And of course, the politicians are politicizing around that. I will not get into that debate. But if you look at what TSC is doing, one, they are building the capacity of teachers about CBC. Never mind that they're not doing it well enough. It is a good starting point. Number two, they are putting on their learning management system professional development courses. Number three, they are licensing the teachers. They are wanting to bring back the mojo into the teaching profession. How it was way back in the day, that teacher in the village was very respected. What was it about this teacher that we respected, If you go to the village, the best house is not for an engineer or a doctor, it is for a teacher. So we want to bring that respect back to the teacher. And one of the ways to do that is to build their capacity so that they're able to teach better. If you didn't get it in this 5-day training, go online. So they're putting resources online. So TSC is also latching onto technology to be able to support the teachers. More importantly now, and tying in with what you said about the apprenticeship approach, what we perhaps can sensationally call it mentorship and coaching. That is now what is happening in the schools. Curriculum support officers have come in to support the teachers in the classroom to ensure that the teachers are not working alone. There's someone to support them and help them to feel comfortable in the class. So yes, a mentorship approach is actually like a two-step mentorship approach happening. The teachers are working with each other to be able to share any problematic areas. TSC is introducing what we call action research within the classroom. Now, this Center of Excellence here is going to do the same for universities, beginning with KCA. You could probably go beyond KCA and reach out to other universities who have not been trained, really looking in to bring faculty from engineering, faculty from accounting or finance department to equip them with pedagogical skills. And that should not be, that should be an encouragement to you. It's going to happen. The center is starting off in the right direction. In the next 3 years, I anticipate that everyone will already have been trained with pedagogy and been given a certificate to show for it. So you can always go wherever you want that you have a certificate where you are trained. It's going to happen in technical institutions and all others. So if everything goes according to plan, the way the Ministry of Education is thinking, they are on the right track to professionalize the teaching profession. At the university, centers like this one then take on from where the ministry stops, because they are not in charge of higher education, to ensure that now our teachers have the pedagogical skills. Yes, you have a degree in engineering, you have a PhD in engineering, but you don't have pedagogy. The center then comes in to meet the gap. And that brings me to my final comments. Good job, congratulations on thinking about Center of Excellence in Teaching, a Center of Teaching and Learning Excellence, because you can teach and learning doesn't happen. But learning happens without the teaching. So we really need to know that we need to move away from the teaching and focus more on the learning, and you're doing the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now to Dr. Anthony. At least your colleague has told us the role PASGA has played. Now to your final remarks, Andeni.
Okay. Wow. Where do I start now? So a few caveats to the leadership. And I'll share these based on our experience of running pedagogical leadership in Africa for the last 4 years. And now that we are advancing and scaling up, because it has really worked, magic in the continent, I think there are areas that we might want to pay attention to. In our first 4 years, we focused more on the supply side, not so much on the demand side. So we did not embed research within pedagogical leadership. So my plea to the leadership is to start thinking about that from the word go. Teachers is your supply side. That's the output. How many teachers have you trained? But to what extent what teachers are learning translate into meaningful changes into students, an outcome. You cannot see today, tomorrow. It will take time. And my plea is that, and I hope the leadership here will take into consideration that now that we are launching the center, you should not only allocating resources for training the numbers, it's not about quantity, it's also about quality. These teachers that are being trained at KCA, to what extent their knowledge translates into building the force of young people who are knowledgeable. That's key, because otherwise it will just be pedagogy with certificates and nothing else to show in terms of the outcomes and longer-term impacts this center will have in the student community. That's very important. And I also want to say a little bit about PASGA, and I'm happy to be here, that you are not alone. And I would like to say, as soon as we sign the MOU, the first training we'll do, PASGA will do for you, so that we have a baseline where to start. So I know she was worried, what are the strategies? We will do that. Let's expedite the relationship once we have it formally. We will offer the first round of trainings that I know Professor has benefited from, and that has transformed many universities in the continent. We are going to work together towards this, and we want to be able to help KCA and many other institutions in the continent, in Kenya, to be able to scale up this impact and transform the way we do things. Because this is the time for Africa, and it's only Africans who can change the future of our continent. Our destiny is in our hands. Unless we do something about it, nobody else can. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen. Okay, thanks for clapping. Ladies and gentlemen, and Thank you so much for being a very good audience. We have learned a lot. Focus on some of our very, very few solutions and outcomes of this discussion is to focus on problem-based assessments, curation of our works in all forms, in all ways. On our works and knowledge is important for the future of even virtual and blended learning. Education is expensive, try ignorance. Softly, I think they were saying the government should take care of the costs of those teachers. And then indigenous instruction designs of teaching is something we should look forward to. But as Dr. Zippy, I want to say the next industrial revolution is the creative industry. And that includes teaching methods. Ladies and gentlemen, our panelists were Professor Helen Inyage, Dr. Jepkemoi, and Dr. Anthony. And I am Dr. Zippy Okoth. I am many things, but I'm most proudly a practicing academia and a lecturer in the Department of Film and Performing Arts, KCA University. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zippy. We'll ask you just to remain seated where you are. Thank you very much. Can we give them a better round of applause? No, that's not good enough. Let's give them a better round of applause. It's only that we don't have time. We would have given them a coffee and nyayo, but we will do that another time. Thank you very much. We are honored by this panel, and you have done justice to this discussion that we were having, and I think we have benefited so much. And one thing that is outstanding across is that KCA University has just set the pace. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, we want to go into a brief round of entertainment, and we are going to have a skit by our very able performing arts team entitled Dr. Kinye. Can we put our hands together as we welcome this wonderful team?
Mbona unataka kuniua wewe? Mbona unataka kuniua? Wewe daktari kweli? Umesoma? Wewe ni nani?
Mimi I am just an intern.
Mbona sasa ulinitibu kama ujida?
Tulia mama, tungoje.
Wewe unajua tutongoje kule wiki moja wewe daktari?
Tulia mama, tungoje daktari. Intern, what is it that is going on here?
Wewe ndio daktari?
Yes, what is wrong?
Daktari, unakumbuka last week ulinitibu hapa?
Yes, wewe.
Ulinipa dawa gani?
Bring her file. Kwani shida ni nini?
Wiki moja tangu unitibu kidole. Mkono ikagoma kwa shingo. Siwezi toa.
Hii mkono
imegoma kabisa.
Hey, intern. What happened? You just bring the file. Stand here. Did you and the minister as per the instruction? I said, was this clearly a case of overdose? I told you it's a half glass. What did you read here?
2 glasses.
No, I have this one over 2. What's wrong with you?
Daktari, unamaanisha nitakufa?
Mama, uko sawa? Uko sawa? This is just a small case of overdose, and ulipewa glass mbili ya ile concussion.
Sasa mbona unaleta watu wenye hajasoma?
Hapana. This is my student, and we are qualified doctors. So this is just a minor surgery that we are going to conduct. After 2 weeks, you come back and we'll...
Daktari, nikikufa tunakutana kotini.
Huwezi kufa.
Nenda kotini mimi. Tunakutana kotini.
Uko sawa, huwezi kufa. Intern, come here. What's wrong with you? I left you with clear instructions. You don't understand. You see, I have a glass of that concussion. What is happening with your medulla oblongata?
Aro, nani ako hapa?
Get that patient.
Mimi sioni. Wapi uko hapa?
Niko hapa.
Na unakaa kukaa vizuri lakini sikuoni.
Usijali utaona.
Sasa mimi jana nilikuwa naona. Sasa sasa hivi unaona sioni.
Usistuke. Just come over here.
Where am I going?
Just come. You are saying that ulikuwa unaona jana alafu leo uone ukiona ama unasema?
Jana nilikuwa naona. Sasa leo.
Yes. Yes. Okay. This is just, so maji kutoka jana nioni. This is a case of short-sightedness.
Daktari, hii ni short-sightedness.
Yes.
Daktari,
yes.
You know this is what happens.
Yes.
Kuna vitu tunaita neurons kwa macho.
I know.
Neurons na ziko na receptors kwa akili.
Yes.
Sasa the pathway, I think it has been disrupted.
I think this is a case I dealt with last time. I think you can handle it. Just go to the laboratory and mama usijali utakuwa sawa. Sawa? Sasa just to take a
Daktari,
yes.
This is the treatment nitatumia.
Yes.
Unajua vitabu huwa zinafungua macho.
In time. Just who has been inspected. You know, as times you find students just coming here, they want to, you give them knowledge, but at times they don't know how to convert that knowledge into simple administration of intern. Just come here. What happened? I want you to explain to me that you spend a lot of money to handle that kind of surgery.
Daktari,
Yes.
sasa ninaona vizuri. Hata naona kila mtu hapa. Mnakaa vizuri. Nisia kumbe ulikuwa smart hivyo.
Hebu kuja ni confirm. Unaona? From short-sightedness to long-sightedness. You see, that's how we handle this kind of case.
Kwanza nakuonea huko. Asante sana daktari.
Yes. Intern, how do you operate?
Pesa. Wajua, ulikuja ukiwa mgonjwa. Sasa unatuona vizuri. Pesa ya matibabu, medical expenses.
Daktari,
umekuwa na shida ya macho. Nikuulize, wewe ulikuwa na shida ya macho na kutolipa medical bill. Inaingilia wapi?
sioni nikulipa.
That's how you operate my clinic when I'm away. You see, let me go. One assignment, did you take some tests? Yes, make sure you do, because I need to go to a surgery room and to the theater and handle that case in a few minutes. Please, if you get any minor cases, please handle them with care. When you can't understand, just give me a call. I'm just a call away. You understand? Good. And we'll talk about something about this one. Once they pay, and also your pockets. You know, you're a student, you are very poor, but we'll find a way of handling. Yes. Good job, but don't just follow in that. I am your professor.
Professor.
Yes. Good.
Hapa nacheza. Huyu mtu hata ajui kupeana simple and clear precise instructions. Anakuja mara ananiambia nifanye hivi, mara ananiambia nifanye hivi vingine. What kind of professor is this one? Sasa hii internship yangu walai tangu nikuja huku nilikuwa na confidence, lakini kila siku ninaona ninazidi kukua mjinga badala ya huku. Sasa unaona hata niko na huyo mama akikosa kupona. Si hiyo ni kesi? Hapa nachezwa, hapa nachezwa.
Silence in court. The court is still in session. My lord, according to the evidence provided, it is proven that the defendant here is guilty as charged. Thank you, my lord.
Dr. Johnston.
Yeah, my lord, I'm sorry. Today I'm just here as amicus curiae.
Thank you. Yes.
That's
enough.
That's enough. More information
Dr. Johnston, that's enough.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Ndiangui, do you have anything that you want to say before this court?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes,
I
please.
have.
Yes.
This you call a professor, doctor. This one should be the one standing on this side. I am not guilty of this crime, Your Honor.
Yes.
Listen, this doctor cannot even give me clear instructions. This doctor has been giving me instructions. Do you enda hivi, sijui fanya hivi, sijui nini. He cannot even teach anyone, Your Honor. Please.
What is the matter in this young man.
Dr. Johnston,
Yes.
is someone dead?
No, Manda, I mean, when is the Manda like they don't know anything that has space and occupies
Oh,
space.
you mean matter?
Yes. What is the matter with
Okay.
this?
So you mean matter?
Yes.
Your Honor,
Okay.
Your Honor,
Yes.
listen to your professor. Listen to your professor. He cannot even construct a basic sentence, an intelligible sentence. What kind of professor is this?
So the kind of money I've been giving you, you just develop biceps, but no concepts.
Dr. Johnston. Dr. Johnston, this is a court, right?
Yes,
I have to give you permission to talk.
I am just a friend of this.
I know. You have
Yes.
said that very much.
Yes.
Yes. So, Mr. Kiangui,
Yes.
it's Ndiangui, right?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry for that. So, according to the evidence brought before this court, you have been found guilty of medical negligence and misguiding your patients. Like this lady right here. She cannot do anything. Now, my orders are, the court's orders, you are hereby to go under community, you have to go for community service, whereby after that, or in the meantime, you will be given a new instructor.
New instructor?
Yes, a new instructor that will be taking you through your internship, and you will be doing it afresh. Yes, so that you can gain more knowledge, so that you can guide these patients, so that something like this cannot happen again.
So, Your Honor, you mean to say I'm not going to prison?
Yes, you are not going to prison. Dr. Johnston!
Sorry, I'm just a friend of this.
Jangui, are we clear?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, thank you very much. Now, Dr. Johnston, please move to the defendant's stand.
I crossed the floor to do what?
Yes, move to the defendant's stand.
A friend of the court to go to defend what?
And as a friend, please cooperate. Dr. Johnston,
yes.
Are you feeling fine?
I am always fine unless you want me to administer some treatment. Are you feeling okay?
Me?
Yes.
I will not even want you to touch me. I will not want you to touch me. Now, Dr. Johnson, according to the evidence that has been brought before this court,
yes.
You are also guilty of, you have misguided this student.
Yes.
And he has done a very wrong thing.
What do you mean? I am a learned doctor. I studied in medicine in the University of Yugoslavia. I am a member of England Medical Association. I am NMS.
Now, Dr.
Nairobi
Johnston.
Medical Service. You are saying...
Dr. Johnston.
Yes.
Now, as much as that you are an expert,
yes.
Does not mean, you are an expert in the medical field.
Yes.
Now, that does not make you an automatic teacher.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
and even, according to the way you are speaking,
yes.
No offense,
yes.
I cannot even fathom some of the words you are saying.
What are you talking about? It's all right. What do you mean? I'm here. You want to charge me?
Yes.
Why?
I have just said you have been found guilty of medical negligence. Mm-hmm. You have been operating with a student that is starting to know his job, but yet you are misguiding him.
I'm sorry.
Yes. Now, Dr. Johnston, this court orders you to go under 6-month probation.
6-month probation?
Yes, 6-month probation.
People will die, and a doctor, he treats people who come.
Yes, you are a doctor. You are a doctor. I have not denied that. You are a doctor. You are hereby to go under 6-month probation, doing community work. And within the meantime, I also advise you to attend. There are many institutions that provide there is a new installed system, a center. An example is KCA University.
Yes.
They have just launched a new center over teaching and learning excellence.
It's a center for teaching.
You know it. So
yes.
you have heard of it.
I know.
Yes, I'm talking about that one.
I'll be okay.
Yes, I'm talking about that one.
Yes.
They'll help you gain more knowledge on how to direct your students and able to interact with your patients. Yes, Dr. Johnston.
Yes.
Now, you will also have to provide the medical bill that will cater for her operation so that she can become well again.
It's all right. I'm
Yes.
fine with that.
It is so the court orders.
KCA University, Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence.
Case closed.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we give this group a better round of applause? Yeah, Dr. Johnson is amicus curiae. And I got interested when he mentioned NMS. I was fearing a doctor in NMS, but that is story for another day. But let's give them a round of applause. Thank you very much. We really appreciate this team and, of course, projecting the need to, the role that Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence will be able to play. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, it is my great honor to invite back the director, CTLE, to be able to lead us in another exercise. Now we are going to the climax of this event, and the real launch begins. So Professor Ngigi, kindly the stage is yours so that you can lead the unveiling of the CTLE website. Karibu sana. Let's give him a round of applause.
Okay, much appreciated, Rogers. So we are going to Elijah. I'm going to invite Elijah to open the CTLE web page. It's on the KCA domain. And as you can see, there's conceptualization of our operations. One of them, the first one there, is academic, is student success and effective engagement. Then effectiveness, go there kidogo, on the pillar part of there. That's academic leadership for our own faculty, and then engagement and integration of digital technology in teaching and learning. Basically, this will be a resource hub for not just our KCA counterpart, but it will be open, but also later on we see the kind of engagement we'll have with externals, and again with the assistance of experts like Pascal. I'll see how we can think up and improve on our online teaching and training. So basically, this will be a resource hub. We'll have online learning there. We'll have online learning tips, blended learning tips, face-to-face, and name the 3 approaches. And as well as if you have probably, let's say, you need some kind of coaching, specialized coaching, you can book an appointment there, and then we'll be there to assist you. If you are at the departmental level or the school level, there's a particular issue in teaching and learning that you want us to help there, will come in handy and do that. So basically, this is a resource hub. It's a tool that will help us in the transformation of teaching and learning. Rogers.
Thank you very much. Let's give Prof. Ngigi another round of appreciation. At least now the CTLE website has been unveiled and it goes live, and we want to request our audience to go to the KCA domain and get to be able to access CTLE so that you can begin directing traffic to that page. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point I once again want to request the director, Professor Ngigi, to be able to present the strategic plan and the handbook for the deans, directors, and chairs of departments, chairs of academic divisions to the Vice Chancellor and CEO of KCA University. This is the tool that is going to guide. So Prof, kindly I'll request you upstage so that you are able to receive the handbook as well as the copy of the strategic plan. I want to request the chief guest and our 2 devices to join Professor Ngigi as he goes upstage to be able to receive this document, because these documents are going to be a guiding principle. Let us just join Prof upstage so that we are able to have these handed over to signify the journey that that the center has started today. And as we go through this, then these guides are going to be very important. Now, as this happens, Professor Ngigi will just talk slightly about this handbook and the strategic plan as this is being handed over.
can see, Prof. Ngige is observing protocol very well. It is very structured, and the learning continues while the teaching goes on. So, ladies and gentlemen, we want to hear briefly from Prof. Ngige about these two documents.
All right, good. Bwana Faustin, we can have the the handbook. We can have the handbook maybe presented to the VC. The handbook, ladies and gentlemen, is a guide to our operations. You see the rubber meets the road at the universities at the departmental level. So we need to be certain that our leaders at the departmental level are fairly guided on the day-to-day operations, in their academic journey across the year. And this document serves as that particular guide, and we would like to present it to the VC today as part of the launch.
Let's give him a round of applause, please. Thank you very much. That has been handed over to Prof. Prof, kindly raise it up and show it to the audience. Thank you. Let's give him a round of applause. And now the CEO now is sanctioning that document to be officially used. Thank you very much. Next is the strategic plan version. We have that distributed to our guest and the DVCs. Let's have Prof. Bagakas having a copy. Yeah, Prof. Ngige, the strategic plan, brief.
The strategic plan. Good.
Yeah, let's have it show. Please raise it up. Our camera crew, kindly make sure you get that photo because it will hit the headline of newspapers tomorrow. So make sure you get a very good shot of that. Thank you, thank you. Let's give them a round of applause.
The next document, Chair. Banafisi.
Prof. Ngige, you're okay because he's the chair of Senate and UMB.
All right. This is a tool that will operationalize the KCA University strategic pillar on university teaching and learning, and here lays the strategies that the center will adopt to transform the university.
Wow, let's give him a round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's have copies shared. Thank you very much. That's now the version of the strategic plan that is going to guide. Let's raise it up. Now look for the Standard newspaper tomorrow. You will be shocked. Let's give them a round of applause, please. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's appreciate Professor Ngige. Asante. At that point, I want to request the VC to lead the team. Now we are going to do some fireworks. Don't worry. We are headed to where we have our dummy book, and we are going now to have the official launch. The VC and CEO will lead this group into the official unveiling and launch of the strategic plan for CTLE. And I'll want to ask our chief guest and the two DVCs and the director kindly just move closer. The chief guest to be on one side, the VC on the other side. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Prof. Bagakas, please join Prof. Kieti on this other side. Thank you. I think we are good. We are good. Director Ngigi, please join on this other side. Now, sorry, I want to request the chief guest to come this side. Just wait, hold on. Let's rearrange. The chief guest come this side. Prof. Kieti move the other side to give the VC backing. So our VC and the chief guest will be holding that material, and as you unveil, and they'll do it slowly and in style, and observe what will be happening. Immediately after that, we will hear a declaration. And when you hear the chief guest making a declaration, we want to hear a huge celebration. But for now, let's observe the unveiling. So Prof, let's unroll it back to the side so that we unveil it. Just pull it slowly. Thank you, DJ. Slowly. You know, you're able to observe. You're able to witness. You can see a beautiful document. You can see a wonderful document. Wow. Let's give them a round of applause. Let's give them a round of applause. Now our chief guest is going to make a declaration. But before he does that, the VC needs just to say something very briefly about this strategic plan. Yeah, Prof, kindly, now this strategic plan, just a word about it.
Thank you so much. We're about to launch our center, and for the next 5 years, we have a document, a strategy that will guide us through. And as we promote excellence in teaching and learning at KCA University, the leaders in the university education. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's appreciate Prof. Thank you very much. Prof. Ngige, let's hand over the microphone to the chief guest, who is now going to have the duty to make now a declaration at this point about the launch of the CTLE.
It is my pleasant and singular duty to launch the Center of Teaching and Learning Excellence strategic plan, and may God bless it.
Woo! Let's appreciate. DJ, let's celebrate, please. Let's celebrate together. Guys, let's be upstanding, everybody. Let's be upstanding. Thank you, DJ. Thank you, DJ. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's give another round of applause. Now we want to request our dignitaries kindly stand in front here just for a quick photo so that we can close this and move to the next, led by the VC and the chief guest. Let us all just line up here for a photo. The chair of this committee kindly come. Dr. Bridget. Okay, the crew, is that okay? Is that a good shot? Please let us rotate until we have the front page. Prof. Ngigi, just come this side for balancing. Good. Now you see, this is a wonderful team. You can see what is happening here. We will vote on who is smiling the brightest. Let's try one more time. Smile. Second round, say chapati. Say cheese. Say waru. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, somebody is saying the VC did not say. Let's get the handshake between the VC and the chief guest. Yes, please, take that shot. Thank you very much. Let's give them a round of applause, please. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. On that note, we want to say that our VC and CEO believes, and he always says, he who loves you gives you food to eat, or he who gives you food to eat indeed loves you. Now the CEO will guide the team. We are going into a brief swallowship program, We have a very beautiful flower on that table. So Prof, kindly lead our chief guest to come to this table so that we carry out a ritual that you started, that in every gathering of the university, there must be swallowship. So as we go through this swallowship program, it's a very beautiful cake that we want to enjoy this evening as we celebrate the official launch of CTLE. And on this table, I want these guys to take a photo of this very beautiful cake. Let's have the DVCs join and the director and the chair of the committee, Dr. Priscilla, kindly please come. Thank you. Now Susan is going to lead this session. Dr. Priscilla, come this side so that we do some balancing. And Susan is going to guide us through this process. Those of us who are good in singing, this is the moment we are going to do some singing, right? Okay. Over to you, Sue.
Thank you very much, Rogers, and thank you, everyone, for gracing this occasion. I think a party is never complete until we eat cake. If you take a child to a birthday party and you make the mistake of picking them up before the cake was cut, they didn't attend any party. Same to a wedding. If you go to a wedding and you leave before they cut cake, they didn't attend a wedding. So you came to our lunch. If we don't cut cake, it's like you just came for something, you know. The icing, no wonder they say the icing is on the cake. And at this point, we'd like to have this cake cut to now commemorate this event. We've talked a lot about teaching and learning. A lot has been said about the learner being able to demonstrate. I believe whoever the teacher of this baker was, they will not be judged harshly. As the Bible said, the student has learned, has demonstrated, and that teacher has passed the test. And now the Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence, the task is upon you. Make sure that the teachers who are going to pass through this center are going to teach, the learners are going to learn, and the learners will be able to demonstrate what it is that they have learned. So the person who will be judged most harshly in this case, I think, is the center director. So I would like him to take the knife and maybe come a little closer, come in between here. You're the one in the hot seat. The chief guest, who quoted the Bible verse, will support you to make sure that, you know, you achieve what it is that you're supposed to do. And then the vice chancellor, where the buck stops, will also support you. So you're in good hands. And you have the two DVCs on your side. And you have Dr. Bunyasi and Dr. Gashigi. I mean, what else would you ask for? Okay. So we will ask the gentleman to just help you support Prof. What, Kindiki? Yes. Support him to demolish it.
Sue, there has to be a lady supporting. You know, this gentleman, Prof. Kieti, join them in support. Kata, okay, kata.
We agreed
kata, kata.
Is cut
kata, kata.
Not in
kata, kata. Kata keki sio ugali. Kata keki sio ugali. Kata keki. Kata keki. Kata keki sio ugali. Let's give them a round of applause as they keep cutting. Thank you. As I know people don't want to clap because they are waiting to swallow, but you clap first. We will give an order, no swallowship. Kindly give them a round of applause. Thank you. At least now we will swallow. We've given that order. Thank you very much. We really appreciate, and this signifies a very, very important exercise, and that means Professor Ngigi has fed the guests and has done it so nicely. And this means, Prof. Ngigi, the expectation is very high as you do this exercise in terms of the success of the center, even as we move forward. Now, people are going to be fed here. And I want to see the order in which feeding is happening. You know, some people like giving others bigger portions. Others love smaller portions. And that will tell us whether we are generous or generous enough. Now, the CEO is starting. Now, the director should feed the CEO first. So, Prof. Ngigi should feed the VC. Prof. Ngigi, you know, if you put a very small one, then your budget will always be very small. If you put a big one, you'll get a bigger budget.
In 1 month, in 1 week, you will sing a new song.
Let's appreciate. Good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's nice. That's nice. Prof, you know, Prof. Ngigi, opportunities come once in a lifetime. Eh? I don't think you'll feed your boss anywhere else. Okay, let's appreciate his feeding the chief guest. Thank you. That's very nice. Thank you very much. Prof. Ngigi should feed Professor Kieti now. And I hope the cameras are watching. The cameras are watching. Prof. Kieti now. Wow, thank you. At least Prof. Ngigi was very generous. Prof. Ngigi, please feed your boss now. Prof. Ngigi, kindly feed your boss now.
So as they are having their cake, again, we don't want them to choke. So we have some champagne to wash it down, and we are going to have each of them have a glass. We pour into the glasses, and then we make a toast.
Tamu tamu keki ni tamu ae. Tamu 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 keki ni tamu ae.
Even as we say that we are having champagne, I am aware that KCA is a draft museum. There's nothing added to this champagne. It's actually alcohol. Let's be free to have
watu wote wanaingoja, watu wote wanaingoja, wamama wote wameza mate, wamama wote wameza mate, hata watoto wanaipenda, watoto wote wanaipenda, hata vijana wanaingoja, hata vijana wanaingoja, wazee wote wanasimaero, wazee wote watabasamu. Mchezo wa meno hakuna mchezo.
Okay. I think we all have our glasses, and we're going to make a toast.
Yeah, just put the cake down.
Yes, we can put our cakes down. So we're going to make a toast. So we're going to make a toast to the Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence. May it make a difference in teaching and learning in KCA, in East Africa, in Africa and beyond. Cheers. And another toast. The last toast we're going to make. This is a toast to the Almighty God, because without Him, we would not have been able to do anything we have done today. KCA, as one of the panelists said, was impressed that we could God first in everything. Yes. KCA, long live KCA.
Thank you very much. I can assure this beautiful audience we will allow our guests to continue with the swallowship on, while seated. Make sure you pick your cake. I hope you will identify which one was yours. Huh? You can take your cakes as you take your seats. DJ? Thank you. I just want to give an assurance that everybody is going to participate in this swallowship program. So we want to assure you on that, and thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at a stage where, as per the culture of KCA University, as per our culture, we want now to appreciate our guests, and it is at this point that we want to acknowledge and appreciate all our guests for what they have done and the kind of commitment they have shown towards the success of this center that has been launched, which is the newest kid on the block. Thank you very much. And I want to assure you, please don't worry. Don't worry, this cake is going to be served. Everybody is well taken care of. Now, I want to request our VC and CEO, our chief guest, just to come here. Before our chief guest comes up, let our VC and the two DVCs, accompanied by the director, just stand here. It's our culture to always appreciate our guests, and the first guest we are appreciating is Bwana Raphael Ngoli, who is representing CPA Edwin Makori, the CEO of ISPAC. And so we will request Bwana Raphael Nguli to come. There is something beautiful here that is a gift from KCA University, and the VC always has the heart of gifting all our guests. So when you leave here, you will go home with something. Let's pose for a photo, Bwana Nguli. Bwana Nguli, let's just pose for a photo. Asante sana, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. We appreciate that. Please hold it nicely. Thank you very much. Next, I want to request Dr. Johnson. No, Dr. Johnson, I will call him last. Let me skip that. Let's go to Professor Helen Nasimio. Professor Helen, kindly come have your gift. And this is the culture of KCA. Our VC always loves taking care of his guests whenever they come, and they have done a fantastic job like the way you have done. So Prof, kindly hand over the gifts. Yeah, let's appreciate them. Thank you very much. Let's appreciate them. Thank you. That's for Helen. Thank you very much. Next, I want to invite Dr. Anthony to join, to come and receive a gift, branded gift from KCA University. And let's give them a round of applause as Dr. Anthony comes. Thank you very much. And after Anthony, I want to request Edwin Wigi. Edwin, kindly move closer as we move towards the end of this. Yeah, let's pause for that camera. Thank you, Edwin, move closer. Next, we want to, as Edwin takes his gift, I want to request Mercy, Miss Mercy, kindly move closer, because there is also a gift for you, so that when you go home, you can remember that one day, a day like this, you are at KCA University. Thank you very much. After Mercy, next I want to request Dr. Edward, kindly move closer. Dr. Edward, kindly move closer so that you're able to receive Your gift is Dr. Edward in. Thank you very much. And after Dr. Edward, Dr. Evelyn Jepkemoi, kindly follow closely. Yeah, let's appreciate them, please. Thank you very much. Dr. Evelyn picking her gift next, and then after that we'll have Professor Sagini, who will then be able also to come for his gift. Professor Sagini. Professor Sagini has left, but a member of the team can just come and receive this on his behalf, then we'll organize on how this can be sent. Is there any member? Yeah, you can pick for him, Dr. Eric, kindly. Yeah, and then thank you very much. We will close it. Asante, that's for Professor Sagini. Thank you very much. We will close it with our chief guest, whom we will humbly, with honor, request to come and receive his gift, Dr. Johnson Nanjahulolo. Let's give him a round of applause. You know, he has left a mark. His statements are inscribed. And so being the chief guest, we'll request you to unveil, you can pull it out and check what is it the VC has given these guests. I know you're a public officer, so that they don't say we gave you money in a carton. You know, wonderful. Display it for the cameras. Okay. Wow, let's give them a round of applause. Thank you very much. I don't hear that, so I know people in the swallowship program. Asante sana, thank you very much. There's a very beautiful gift. A good man, nice branded mug. We have a notebook, branded pen. When you go to your office, the next time our CEO visits you, you should be seeing those things. Then his heart will be melted, and more will always come that way. Let's give him a round of applause. Asante sana, thank you. God bless you. Now it's the case of the hunter becomes the hunted. So our chief guest, because you have been kind, and our CEO has actually been very generous, now we want to ask the chief guest in turn now to gift our CEO. So Bwana VC, you have a beautiful gift. That is now courtesy of the chief guest. Now the chief guest is gifting you. Let's give him a round of applause, please. Because you conceived this and you have made sure that it happens. Thank you very much. We will request our chief guest to take his seat. Thank you. Now we will request our VC in turn now to gift his deputies. You know, he's a very good father, kind and generous. I don't know whether you want to start with the lady or the gentleman. Prof, your choice. Thank you. Now, Prof has started, he knows ladies first. Huh? So amepita mtihani, si ndio? Okay, thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. Professor Kieti, we celebrate you because you approved the budget. Continue doing that. Huh? Now, Prophet Joshua and Prophet Isaiah. Now, that's a beautiful photo. The two prophets are together, and Prophet Isaiah is gifting Prophet Joshua. Thank you very much. Asante sana. I think we are done with the gifting session. Thank you very much. We want to request you to take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the tail end of this program, and it is at this point that I wish to request Dr. Peter Njuguna, who was a member of the organizing committee, to come and pass a vote of thanks. Karibu Daktari.
Thank you, Rogers. And on behalf of the CTLE committee, we want to acknowledge, first of all, our Heavenly Almighty God for giving us the chance and this opportunity to witness this day. We do not take that for granted. It is by grace. It is a great day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it, because we are sure that this commission the center toward a great transformation of our student experience. To our chief guest,
it was a great deal in deconstructing our mission. It's like you had led through the might of the committee through the director in how you elaborated your conversation. To our senior management, steered by Professor Isaiah, Professor Joshua, and Professor Damiana, we are so glad your vision through CTLE is arrive. And it will greatly transform the student experience as contemplated in our student engagement and digital transformation pillars of our strategic plan. So we are so grateful that you had time to grace this occasion and to ensure that it will take place as scheduled. To the steering committee, the CTLE committee, this was meticulously done. Thank you so much. It was well organized and everything flowed as initially contemplated. My only word is that this is the start of the real job, and you have heard it through the director, that indeed, the onus is now, and the ball is on your court. To everyone else, thank you so much for your time. I would want us to appreciate ourselves with a loud of clap, and we do a factorial, 1, 2, 1, 2, that is 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, as we add. So let's go. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. We do that again. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much. May God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. I want you to be standing here. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this session. I want to ask all the committee members to be here. The VC chief guest, the DVC's director, kindly join this committee for a quick photo session, and then we will do a closing prayer. And immediately after that, we will go into a serious swallowship session called cocktail. So there's a lot of food that has been prepared here by our VC for our guests that we are going to enjoy. The committee members led by Chair Dr. Gashigi, these people have really done a wonderful job. And they have been meetings after meetings, planning, coordinating, and we want to celebrate them in a very special way for the work they have done. I want to ask our guest and our DVCs, VC, please join so that we do a quick photo. Let's have all the committee members. Let's give them a round of applause, please. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, as we remain standing, let's not go back. All of us kindly let us rise up because we have come to the close end of this event. And I want to ask Pastor Njoroge, kindly join me upstage. I know Professor Ngigi and Angelica, I don't know where Angelica is. These two are, the center has 2 staff only, staff 1 and staff 2. They have really done a fantastic job. They have not been resting. And Prof. Ngigi has been having butterflies all over. And now I can see that he's very, very much okay. And we want to thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. I've been your program director, Roger Sabongo. We love you, KCA loves you, and God loves you. God bless you.
Okay, my word for today will be that times and seasons are actually in God's hands. And there's a word that talks about, in the fullness of time, God makes everything beautiful. And all of us who have been here, I believe, okay, from where I stand, there is a prophetic direction for KCA, God making everything beautiful. I was in a meeting, another meeting yesterday, and those words came, and I was like, yeah. Well, if you look at we go back, all of us I know are Christians, and we know the story of the children of Israel. Now, when Joseph was sold as a slave in Egypt, When you talk about a prophetic, visitation, the word of God that had been spoken to Abraham came to pass then. And all of us know very well that we have a culture of prayer, we have a culture of seeking God, and I believe there is something, that there is a turn. God makes everything beautiful in the fullness of time. So as we sing the chorus that says we give all the glory to Jesus, and then I'll wind up in prayer. So Dr. Bunyasi, I believe you can take the microphone and we get through with that chorus. We give all the glory to Jesus and tell of his love, and tell of his love. We give all the glory to Jesus and tell of his wonderful love. Na Yesu apewe utukufu. Tangaza upendo, tangaza upendo. Na Yesu apewe utukufu. Tangaza upendo wake. Our Father and our God, we thank you for your faithfulness. We thank you for your mercy. We thank you, God, because in the fullness of time, you are revealing your prophetic purpose over this institution. Father in heaven, we thank you for every person you have brought around this institution, who has walked through this institution, because you have touched us in a very special way. The students who have come through this place, the employees, and everybody. Because, God, you have a prophetic agenda for this institution. God, now we humble before you, and we do pray that as we move every step of the way, as we move in every new thing that you are bringing, we are sensitive to hear your voice. Open our spiritual eyes and our spiritual ears that we may hear the direction you are taking us to. Father, in obedience to your word, we commit the management in your hands. And every other day, we are praying, God, that you give them the mind of Christ. We do pray that you give them wisdom that comes from you by the power of your Holy Spirit. Give each one of them understanding, even that they are able to listen to the counsel of the Spirit of God in the everyday life. For Father, you are part of us in our everyday life. Even as we are in classes, interacting with our students, allow us, God, to hear from you, because as it has been alluded, is that yes, we are touching lives. We are touching your creation. Allow us to humble before you, even as we are handling the students, that within our heart we shall have a capacity to empathize with the students, to hear, to listen to what they are doing. And this can only be done by the power of your Holy Spirit. Father, we are thanking you, because we are seeing a light for this institution. We are seeing a rains coming from all corners. We thank you because you are going to provide finances for every activity and every agenda, Lord. And we thank you, Lord, because you are going to unite us with the cords of love. You are going to knit us together with the cords of love and even understanding. Father God, we praise you and we give you honor. In Jesus' name, we pray and believe. Amen.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That brings us to the end of this program. We will allow our guests to exit, and then we will follow soon after that. Asanteni sana. We are now heading for the swallowship session. The table is set outside here. It is cocktail. Cocktail means standing. You don't sit. So you will swallow as you stand, and then we will be able to move from there. Thank you very much. May God richly bless you as we continue to make our university a great university. Asanteni sana.